Bang! In a twinkling, the terrible roar sounded again. The terrible airflow brought by the two fists' touch instantly lifted all the snow in the courtyard of the mountain temple. At the moment, the tiny snowflakes became like sand. When they fell on the wall, they made a clear sound. This is its still human power. Lu Yanzhao, who was watching the battle, was stunned and his body was crazy and trembling. This kind of picture is even more terrible than the master duel in the movie. If you don't see it with your own eyes, who can believe that there are people in this world who have such amazing terrorist power? Even at this moment, he felt more and more that Tian and Monkey Mountain God had really transcended the category of human beings and ascended the realm of gods. Fortunately for him, although both of them are as powerful as gods, they still maintain their human nature like themselves, though they are as powerful as gods to ordinary people. Otherwise, he did not dare to imagine how terrible damage would be brought to the world with the powerful power of the two. Step on step on. At the same time, after the blow, Monkey Mountain God stepped back uncontrollably. After 10 meters, he just stood firm. At the same time, the right fist that collided with Tian was trembling, shaking like chaff. Feeling the terrible pain of right fist spreading up and down the body, Monkey Mountain God's eyes twitched and looked at Tian with tremor. If it's not for the stinging pain, he really can't believe everything in front of him. Tian's physical strength is so strong. Master, what's the matter? Didn't this blow hurt you? Tian sees this, looking at Monkey Mountain God, pondering a smile, way. He felt that the Monkey Mountain God just did not put out all his strength, but reserved something. Little fellow, I let you, but you are shaking. It seems that if you don't show some real skills, you don't know my strength. Monkey Mountain God heard Tian's words. Two groups of unwilling flames immediately appeared in the fundus of his eyes. He could not help but mobilize his whole body strength and beat himself to Tian. Shit, why is this guy so shameless? It was he who said that he was going to do his best. Now that he is suffering, he begins to say that he is going to do his best. Forget, this guy is not a human, but a monkey. The monkey is born with no skin and no face. When Tian heard the sound, he could not help but feel a lot of pain in his heart, but his body and mind did not slacken and relax, and his hands and body did not slow down. His eyes firmly locked on the Monkey Mountain God's action, and his spirit fire swayed, which pushed the physical force to the extreme, and he could not help but fight the Monkey Mountain God. Boom boom. The two monks who practiced the idea of Sui Wang Temple and made the spirit fire fight each other. With all their strength, every violent collision of their fists made a terrible thunder around them. With their bodies as the center, the snow on the ground was flying, and the dense white had covered their figure, which made people almost unable to see clearly. This terrible scene let Lu Yanzhao's chin, at this moment, are about to fall to the ground. In the past, he thought he was good at fighting, but today, compared with Tian and Monkey Mountain God, he feels that he is just like a baby who hasn't grown up. No matter which one of them is stabbed, he can't stand it. After a long time, the two people's bodies fell back and stood in a corner of the hospital, breathing heavily. In their eyes, they were full of exhaustion and excitement. No matter Tian or Monkey Mountain God, they have never met such a fierce battle. In particular, since they both practiced the idea of Sui Wang Temple, their battle is still a duel between their peers. The significance of this kind of competition is so great that it is more than several times of fighting against others in the past. Especially for Tian, who has just broken through the 7th floor of the cave, this kind of benefit is even greater. Although he is in pain and tired everywhere, he can feel that the cultivation of the 7th floor of the cave has been completely stabilized. As long as he devotes himself to cultivation for a period of time, he can seek to break through the 8 levels of the cave and make his cultivation to a higher level. No more, your skin is rough and your flesh is rough. I'm tired to death. After that, Monkey Mountain God waved his hand to Tian repeatedly, indicating that after the competition, he took off a green gourd from his waist and poured it on his head. The contents in his gourd are by no means idle things. When the bottle cap is opened, Tian feels a strong fragrance of medicine and a pure and majestic vitality. According to Tian's estimation, it should be a good product to supplement vitality and vitality. After the Monkey Mountain God poured down the contents of the gourd, the vitality and energy originally consumed by the competition was restored in an instant. How's it going? Would you like a breath? Monkey Mountain God saw the appearance of Tian, shook the green gourd in his hand, and said with a smile, "Of course." Tian nodded without thinking. Monkey Mountain God is very generous, hear this, hand a shake, green gourd will fly to Tian. How fragrant! With the help of green gourd, Tian unscrewed the bottle stopper and immediately asked for a strong wine aroma that almost made people drool. After that, he swept inside the gourd, and immediately saw that the strong aroma of wine was released from the golden liquid inside the gourd. Moreover, these golden liquid, which was different from ordinary wine, looked extremely viscous, just like honey. Snow ginseng, Ganoderma lucidum, 7-star grass, snow lotus. When Tian closed his eyes, smelled at the mouth of the gourd, and then opened his eyes showed a strong color of surprise. What's the wine in this gourd? It's a gourd's perfect tonic soup. It contains innumerable elixirs. According to his judgment, it contains almost all the elixirs that can restore life in Kunlun, and each of them is dated. Monkey wine. Immediately after that, Tian immediately judged what was in the green gourd. When he was in Fangsu and Lingyu, he had heard that the monkeys were very clever and had the ability to make their own liquor. Although they didn't have the power of medicine, the monkey wine made by instinct was no worse than some holy medicine to make up for life, or even better. In the past, he once made friends with an ape and got more than half of the gourd monkey wine. Even after he broke through the Jade Park, he never forgot it. It's a pity that the ape died early. Besides, the monkeys never give the wine to people who are not close to them. So Tian has never tasted the wine since then. He didn't expect to see monkey wine again in the hands of Monkey Mountain God in Kunlun Mountain. Without any hesitation, Tian immediately raised the gourd and took a sip of it. Good wine. Thick as honey, the monkey wine goes into his throat. Tian immediately feels that the wine turns into a thread of fire. Along his throat, it burns to his stomach, and then spreads to his whole body. It makes him feel that the whole person is about to burn at this moment. In the end, this force, united as a whole, rushed to his elixir field, as if to inflate his elixir field, and then erupted like a volcano. Without a moment's hesitation, Tian immediately ran the idea of Sua Wangwen, and the spirit fire rose, melting the strange heat, circulating the meridians and running away. Just for a moment, Tian felt that the fatigue and pain of his previous duel with Monkey Mountain God had been swept away. Even with the breath of the 7th floor of the cave, he became more powerful. It seemed that he had come to the edge of the 8th floor of the cave. If he took another step forward, he could take the door-to-door step. Good wine, the taste of missing. Tian pinches the monkey wine tightly, praises the property of the wine, but at the same time, he can't help but think of the monkey wine he tasted in the past at the tongue-bangling ape. He can't help but feel a lot of sigh when he thinks of his old friend who has passed away. Why, have you ever had a similar drink before? Monkey Mountain God looked at Tian curiously, looking a little nervous. Yes, I've tasted it. I'm of the same race as you. They're all from the same family. Tian nodded with a smile and gave a positive answer. Immediately after that, he aimed at Monkey Mountain God and said with a smile, "Why, do you want to find your daughter-in-law?" Although they are dry, thin and short, their strength is frightening. They have 2 arms and tens of thousands of kilograms of strength. Even if they are extremely powerful, they can easily lift a mountain. Therefore, the monkey with arms is also called the mountain-moving ape. According to the competition between Tian and Monkey Mountain God just now, it has been judged that this Monkey Mountain God belongs to the one line of macaque. However, this guy's appearance is a little too ugly. He is not as short as those macaques he met in Fangkunling area. But it still gives people a kind of awe-inspiring feeling. That's why he is so proud. When he first saw Monkey Mountain God, he didn't judge the race of the goods. Now, Monkey Mountain God is curious after hearing that he once drank monkey wine. The reason is that Monkey Mountain God is alone. No, a monkey is too lonely in Kunlun Mountain, so he wants to find a group and company. After all, both macaques and macaques are gregarious creatures who like to live together in a group. Of course, one of the reasons why Monkey Mountain God wants to continue the incense and give birth to offspring is that he is a male monkey and always has some physiological needs. With his spirit, he certainly doesn't like the greedy female monkeys in Kunlun Mountain. Hey, I just want to find some kindred. I'm alone in Kunlun. It's so lonely. Monkey Mountain God heard Yi Tian's words, his face was pierced by his embarrassed smile, scratched the back of his head, hoping for the way. I've met your kindred, but it's a pity that I'm not here. Maybe I'll go there in time. You can go with me, but it depends on your own fortune if you can bring back a female monkey. Yi Tian chuckles and immediately says, but he thinks that the Monkey Mountain God is 90% out of the question. After all, most of the Monkey Mountain apes are Yango and like to be majestic. Just like the Monkey Mountain God, if they can be recognized and accepted by those Monkey Mountain apes, they will burn high incense. 1. Monkey Mountain God heard the sound, grinned and said, how can that be enough? We have to bring back a group. Yi Tian shakes his head and grins bitterly. However, looking at Monkey Mountain God's expectant expression, it's not easy to break his illusion. After all, it's not only people who want to dream, but also the monkeys who have to dream. However, all this also makes Yi Tian admire Monkey Mountain God a little more. A monkey can live in seclusion and keep the snow mountain in order to keep a promise. How many things can a monkey do, not to mention a monkey, even a human? Thinking of this, Yi Tian can't help thinking that if Monkey Mountain God can't turn to a daughter-in-law, he doesn't mind helping Monkey Mountain God to make some elixirs that are good for the monkey ape, and let him use these elixirs to hook up with his daughter-in-law. After all, whether it's the Terran or the monkey, it's always easier for the local tyrant to eat swan meat. You're a good boy. I'll give you a gourd of monkey wine. Immediately after that, Monkey Mountain God jumps on the beam and takes out a gourd of monkey wine from above and gives it to Yi Tian. Thank you very much. Yi Tian was overjoyed at the news. The monkey wine is extremely precious and extraordinary. Many of the monkey people who make it are reluctant to share it with others. But now, the Monkey Mountain God is willing to give himself a gourd, which is like cutting meat. This also makes Yi Tian more determined to find a way to help Monkey Mountain God find a daughter-in-law in the future. Grandfather Shanshan, can you give me a gourd? You see, my soup of leopard tendon and snow ginseng is also very good. If you want to eat something in the future, you can tell me directly that I'll open a small stove for you in the mountain temple. Seeing this scene, Lu Yanzhao was very moved, especially after smelling the fragrance of the wine. He felt that all the greedy insects were hooked. He looked pitifully at Monkey Mountain God and said, "You're good, too." Monkey Mountain God chuckled and followed closely. He threw the remaining half of the gourd to Lu Yanzhao and said, "Here you are." "Thank you, Granddad." Lu Yanzhao said thanks to Monkey Mountain God in a hurry. Then he grabbed the gourd, unscrewed the bottle stopper and prepared to pour it into his mouth like Yi Tian. "Old man, you can't drink like this. You have to sip it one by one." Yi Tian see this, hastily speak to block the way. "Brother Yi, don't look down on people. Although I'm old, I don't drink as much. Besides, it's fruit wine. It's not intoxicating." When Lu Yanzhao heard Yi Tian's words, he was very unconvinced and widened his eyes and muttered, "Don't worry, old man. As I said, take a sip of the wine, and then talk about it." Yi Tian shook his head with a bitter smile. "I don't believe it. It's stronger than burning white." Lu Yanzhao listened to Yi Tian's words. Although he was a little unconvinced, he took a sip according to what Yi Tian said. "Hiss, good wine, it's so mellow." After a bite, Lu Yanzhao's eyes immediately straightened. He was born in Kunlun Mountain and drank a lot of fruit wine, but no matter what kind of fruit wine he drank, there was no way to compare with the half-gourd and monkey wine in front of him. The mellow, sticky and honey-like taste was not what ordinary people could have. This what's going on. But just when Lu Yanzhao instinctively wanted to raise the gourd and have another bite, he suddenly felt that along the stomach where the liquor entered his throat, a strong heat of fire spread all over his body. It felt like he was holding a big fire suddenly, and his body was about to melt. In addition, there was a very relaxed feeling, which quickly swept his whole body, his cold legs for many years, and some chronic diseases he got from running around in the mountains. Now he has completely improved, just like he has experienced a transformation. Not only that, he also had a strange feeling that he was in a hurry to drink. He felt that his body could not stand even one more drop, not to mention another drink. If he was not careful, it would explode like a balloon with too much air. What's the matter, old man? Do you believe me now? Take off your fur coat and run for 2 laps. Seeing this, Tian looks at Lu Yanzhao and says with a smile. The strong nature of Heritium wine is not reflected in the degree of alcohol, but in its strong tonic properties. Lu Yanzhao is too old and has a bad foundation. If he takes a big mouthful of it rashly, then he is waiting for him. He will die because of the fact that he is not mended. However, even if he just sipped this little mouthful, Lu Yanzhao also got a great fortune. His stubborn diseases were completely eliminated, and the original source of aging vitality was also moistened. For example, withered trees glowing in the new year can not only live for more than 10 years, but also have white hair returning to black. When Lu Yanzhao heard this, he immediately took off his coat and ran around in the courtyard of the mountain temple with his bare arms. His forehead was sweating, but his face was red. He could not see half of his fatigue, only the exuberant vitality of a young man. While he's busy, I want to ask you something. At this time, Monkey Mountain God looked at Lu Yanzhao with a smile, then suddenly turned his head, looked into Tian's eyes and said, "Who are you?" "Master, what do you want me to do?" Tian picks an eyebrow to smile, looking at Monkey Mountain God, smile to chant away. "Although I'm a monkey and don't like to think about so many things, I'm not a fool. I don't know why. I have a feeling that you don't belong to this world, or even my master. I can feel that you have no malice towards Kunlun, but I want you to give me an answer." Monkey Mountain God listens to Tian's words, and doesn't mean to make fun of him. He continues. As it said, it felt that Tian was different from anyone he had ever seen, not only in the realm of cultivation, but also in the breath of Tian, as if he had read 1,000 sails. Moreover, Tian's careless "not in this heaven and earth" just now made him aware of a possibility. If it doesn't feel that Tian has no malice towards Kunlun, then, with Tian's strength, in order to defend Kunlun and fulfill the promise left by its master, it will do its best to fight against Tian, instead of questioning him as it does now. "Master, please believe that although I have seen many landscapes and experiences that others have never seen, there is no doubt that I am a person of this world. And from the beginning to the end, I've always been a person." Tian saw Monkey Mountain God's solemn affairs, and did not tell him any more nonsense. Instead, he looked solemn and said every word. As he said, no matter how many years he has been practicing in Fengsuan spiritual realm, he has never changed the fact that he is an Earthman and a Chinese. More importantly, even if he becomes a great monk in Yupu realm, he always thinks that he is a man, not a god, or an old monster, who can ignore everything. That's why he respected Monkey Mountain God. Even if he liked monkey wine very much, he didn't encounter anything beneficial to himself like many monks in Fengsuan spirit realm. If it was ownerless, he took it; if it was ownerless, he robbed it. Even after the duel, he was quite sure that as long as he used the fierce sword, he would be 100% sure that he would kill the Monkey Mountain God. "Ha ha ha, I believe you." Monkey Mountain God smell speech, stare at Tian to see after a long time, laugh a few, then no longer ask. It doesn't care what secrets Tian has, just as there are secrets in him. As long as Tian can still keep a human heart, as long as it is harmless to Kunlun, it doesn't mind turning a blind eye to Tian. Hearing this, Tian rushes to Monkey Mountain God, raises the gourd and drinks a mouthful of monkey wine. A snowstorm night passed quickly. The next morning, the snowstorm finally stopped. The mountains of Kunlun were covered with snow, like a snow dragon. "Master, I'm leaving. We'll meet again in the future." Tian stretched a stretch, only feel fresh, toward Monkey Mountain God and Lu Yanzhao a fist, Lang voice way. He has left the South China Sea long enough this time. It's time for him to go back. Moreover, last night, he had made it clear to Monkey Mountain God that Zhu Yi, Liang Wei, and others were mountain people of Zhuangmen. But the patriarch who they thought could help them easily kill Monkey Mountain God was already killed by Monkey Mountain God and kicked his head into the snow ditch. Under such circumstances, he no longer needs to worry about the safety of Lu Yanzhao, and can leave Kunlun at ease. Of course, the more important thing is that after the duel last night, Monkey Mountain God taught him the secret breath method. The name of this method is very domineering. It's called hidden killing. According to the Monkey Mountain God, when his master taught him this method, he once said that it was a secret method belonging to the Kunlun criminal sect. It was specially used to deal with the mortal enemies of Kunlun and those who betrayed Kunlun. Once they were hidden, they would hide heaven and earth. Once they were attacked, they would be killed without mercy. Green mountains will not change, green water will flow forever. Monkey Mountain God to Yi Tian, the same fist-arched hands, laughing. Come back to Kunlun again, I'll cook for you and introduce my granddaughter Zhuoma to you. Lu Yanzhao heard that Yi Tian was going to leave, and his face also showed reluctance. Looking at Yi Tian, he said eagerly. Although he has not been in contact with Yi Tian for a long time, he really likes this young man. He is absolutely first class in character and strength, which makes him want to be his grandson-in-law. Don't you forget, old man? I have a girlfriend. When Yi Tian heard this, he could not help but lose his smile and wave to Lu Yanzhao. Ha ha ha, look at me. Hearing this, Lu Yanzhao slapped his forehead heavily. He was embarrassed, but his eyes were lost. Such a good son-in-law fell into the hands of others. If you break up with your girlfriend one day, remember to come to Kunlun to relax. I'll introduce Zhuoma to you. After that, Lu Yanzhao continued. Yi Tian has no choice but to nod with a bitter smile. Monkey Mountain God envies looking at Yi Tian, chasing to introduce his girlfriend, such a good thing, how can it not catch up? Yi Tian looks like him, but he has 2 eyes, a nose and a mouth. Where did he lose to this guy? This idea, if let Yi Tian know, will certainly feel, some guys, obviously so ordinary, but so honey confidence. Old man, although it is a good thing that Kunlun is arresting hunters, you are old enough to consider everything for yourself. Yi Tian shook his head with a bitter smile, and then arched his hand to Lu Yanzhao, admonishing him. As he said, Lu Yanzhao is enthusiastic. It's a good thing for Kunlun, but it will also put him in danger. If he's just a poacher, it's alright. If he meets mountain people again, it's dangerous. Well, I remember. Lu Yanzhao laughed and nodded. At this moment, the feeling of regret in his heart has become more and more strong. Don't worry, I'll cover him later, and the mountain god will be the backing. Later, he will walk horizontally in Kunlun, and no one dares to provoke him. Monkey Mountain God heard this, raised his hand and patted his chest, giving a guarantee. Lu Yanzhao smiles and thanks Monkey Mountain God again and again. Yi Tian feels relieved when he hears the speech. He knows that there is no need to worry about Lu Yanzhao's safety in the future. With Monkey Mountain God as his backer, this old man is walking across Kunlun Mountain in the future, and no one dares to provoke him. Monkey Mountain God looked up and waited for a long time, but he didn't. Lu Yanzhao said that he would introduce his granddaughter to him, which made him feel lost inside. He was more and more puzzled that he was worse than Yi Tian. Obviously, that guy was not as cute as his own Harry. After some communication, Yi Tian didn't hesitate, so he turned to walk out of the mountain. After walking all the way, Yi Tian came to the snowline area of Kunlun Mountain, where there are large coniferous forests with dense pine trees, dark and gloomy. There's someone in front. Just as he was about to move on, Yi Tian immediately heard a voice coming from the front. It was obvious that he was not the only one who walked into the coniferous forest, but they were tourists into the mountain or the remaining evils of the Blood Shadow Gate? Yi Tian's mind changed. He didn't choose to show up now. Instead, he used the method of hidden killing to hide his breath. He jumped into the branches of the tree and followed closely. Like a little squirrel, he walked through the dense forest. After a while, he arrived at the place where the voice was. I didn't expect that, it's really these evils. Yi Tian's eyes swept down, and immediately saw that 2 people in Zuiyingmen Mountain, who were similar to Liang Wei and Yui, were sitting in front of a beautiful girl in a wolf fur coat with 2 plateau redness on her cheeks, which made her a little more beautiful without rouge. There's no doubt that these 2 guys, I'm afraid, are so bold that they should not be moved to this girl. This wolf fur coat looks familiar. The girl's eyebrows look familiar. Not only that, when Yi Tian's eyes fell on the girl, he immediately noticed a sense of familiarity from her. This fur coat is the same as what Lu Yanzhao was wearing. Between the eyebrows and eyes, and he is also very similar, however, belongs to the kind of has been greatly beautified similar. Is this girl Lu Yanzhao is going to introduce to his granddaughter? Zhuoma. Yi Tian sees this, his eyes suddenly change, and he judges the girl's identity. It was snowy and windy yesterday. Seeing that Lu Yanzhao didn't turn back, the girl came to Kunlun to look for her. All over the mountains and fields, all dressed in silver and plain clothes, even dare to go into the mountains to find her grandfather in such weather. Zhuoma is really brave enough. Moreover, we can see that she and Lu Yanzhao have a deep love for each other. What are you doing? At this time, the girl, who was suspected to be Zhuoma, stepped back and said nervously after seeing the two people on the Zuyingmen mountain approaching. Walking on the mountain, suddenly, two guys with fierce faces came out. Even if Zhuoma was a fool, he knew that these two guys were unkind to her. The barren mountains and wild forests are full of ice and snow. You say, our brothers are blocking you. Besides trying to help you warm up, what else can we do? The leader of the Zuyingmen mountain man, with a smile, approached Zhuoma, followed her closely, pinched her sharp chin, and said, I didn't expect that this ice and snow world could give birth to such a delicate little girl as you. Lu Yanzhao is a beautiful man. His son must not be ugly, and his daughter-in-law will not be so bad. With the genetic improvement, Zhuoma's skin is slightly rough due to the strong wind, sun and ultraviolet rays in the plateau area, but there is a kind of water girl's tenderness between his eyebrows and eyes, and the two plateau redness is smoother add some simple and pure, just like a flower just out of the water, showing the sharp angle of hibiscus. Get out of here! Zhuoma heard the sound, suddenly raised her hand, toward the blood shadow door man's arm heavily pulled in the past, want to pat each other's hand away. I advise you to be honest and make trouble for me, otherwise, I will be rude to you. However, although Zhuoma is the granddaughter of an old hunter like Lu Yanzhao, she has some skills, but compared with the people on the mountain, her strength is too different. As soon as she reaches out her hand, the other side just flicks it, and Zhuoma falls into the snow nest with a bang, covered with snow foam. Little sister, haven't you heard a word? If you can't resist, it's better to close your eyes and enjoy it. At the same time, another Zuyingmen mountain man looks at Zhuoma falling in the snow, and Jie laughs. The sudden appearance of such a beautiful little girl in the deep mountains and forests naturally made the two mountain people who had regarded the so-called morality and law as nothing, have a kind of complete self-liberation, and want to completely burst out the reckless animal nature at the bottom of their heart and pour it on Zhuoma. I warn you, my grandfather is Lu Yanzhao, an old hunter in Kunlun Mountain. If you two dare to touch me, he will kill you. Zhuoma looked at the two people's appearance, completely flustered, panicked toward the two people cold drink more than, hoped to use this method, to dispel the two people's share of the beast. This girl is Lu Yanzhao's granddaughter, Zhuoma. Yi Tian heard this sound, immediately completely determined the girl's identity. Lu Yanzhao, don't say your grandfather is an old hunter in Kunlun Mountain. Even if he is the mountain god of Kunlun Mountain, you can't go anywhere today. But it's a pity that Zhuoma's threat, for this kind of scum, her resistance, struggle and threat, not only won't have any ability to frighten these two guys, but also will make the beast in their hearts more turbulent. After they look at each other, they smile and stride to Zhuoma, and as they walk, they begin to unbutton their clothes. Save her. See the scene, Yi Tian's eyes suddenly align, followed closely, the body shook, then jumped down from the conifer, stood behind the two. Who is it? Yi Tian's sudden fall, like a magic weapon, frightened the two people on the Zuyingmen mountain who were approaching Zhuoma, and made Ling Ling shiver. You, it's you. Then, when the two men saw Yi Tian's face, they were completely dull. The evil fire in their heart was like a basin of cold water poured by someone's head, and suddenly went out. Immediately, their legs were paralyzed, kneeling in front of Yi Tian, frantically kowtowing. How could these two people be so afraid of this young man? Zhuoma looked at the scene, his face was full of shock. Just for a moment, she thought that she would not be spared this time and would be desecrated by these two animals, but she really didn't expect that Yi Tian would come down to solve the crisis for her. Not only that, but also what she couldn't understand. No matter what threat they took out, these two guys looked disdainful. They seemed to be fearless. At this moment, they just saw Yi Tian, and they were scared into this picture. Your appearance, as if in their eyes, Yi Tian Kai was the real evil star. In fact, at this moment, there was more than Zhuoma in his heart. The hearts of the two people who lived in the mountain were also filled with unspeakable tremors. Even if I killed both of them, I didn't expect that I would see Yi Tian here. So many disciples of Qingming's sect would abandon their cultivation, and even let Qingming's sect become the demon star of Mingzong from then on. Even, at the moment of seeing Yi Tian, the two of them have no heart to resist. They only dare to shiver and wait for Yi Tian's fall. You are the granddaughter of Master Lu, Zhuoma, aren't you? I'm his friend. Yi Tian didn't pay attention to these two people, but stretched out his hand to pull Zhuoma up from the ground and looked at her with a smile. This evil star, unexpectedly, is this little girl grandfather's friend? Yi Tian's words fell, and the two people who lived in the Blood Shadow Mountain looked at each other. In their eyes, they immediately showed a strong color of despair. They didn't expect that a beautiful girl they met rashly in the mountain would have such a tie with Yi Tian. And provoke such personage, that is not to offend Yi Tian completely, waiting for them. How can there be good fruit to eat? Do you know my grandfather? How is he now? Zhuoma heard this, just returned to God, doubt but also hope of looking at Yi Tian, Wei. What's puzzling is that she has met Lu Yinzhao's friends, and knows them. Although Lu Yinzhao has a wide range of friends, she has never met such young friends, nor heard Lu Yinzhao mention them. As for the hope, since Yi Tian can say his name is Zhuoma, it shows that he really met Lu Yinzhao. Last night, the wind and snow sealed the mountain, and let her bear the burden after a long night. I was afraid of my grandfather's accident and wanted to know if he was still in good condition. Mr. Lu is very well now. He is cleaning up the traps dug by the poachers in the mountain. It is estimated that he will go down the mountain and go home in 2 days. If you want to find him, you can go to the mountain temple to find him. He stays there at night, and I also met him there. Yi Tian smiles and talks about the process of knowing Lu Yinzhao and himself, and tells the current situation of Lu Yinzhao. With the protection of the mountain god grandfather and the effectiveness of the monkey wine, Lu Yinzhao's small days are not so beautiful. Zhuoma's worries are probably superfluous. Who? Zhuoma heard this, immediately patted her chest, and took a long breath. But when she clapped her hands, her chest immediately rippled with waves. Even though she was wearing a thick wolf fur coat, it also made people dizzy. Zhuoma, turn your head first and close your eyes. The appearance of this scene makes Yi Tian move his sight to other places and smile. Ah! Zhuoma was stunned. Although she didn't know what Yi Tian was going to do, she turned her head and closed her eyes. Spare me! Master, please let us both go. We really know that we are wrong. I swear that from now on, I will never dare again. When Yi Tian's words fell, the two people in the Zhuangmen mountain immediately felt a very bad feeling. Without any hesitation, they knelt down in a hurry and kowtowed to Yi Tian, hoping that he could raise his hand and let them live together. Do you think you two deserve to live in this world? Breathing the same air as you is a stain on me. Yi Tian looks at these two people, with a sound of indifference. He raises his hand, and the fire-burning secret moves. 2 fireballs fly out and fall to them. Boom! In a flash, the terrible flame swept over the 2 mountain people's bodies, and 2 huge human-shaped flames rose. The 2 mountain people of Zhuangmen were quickly engulfed by the flame and burned to ashes before they even had time to howl. What happened? Zhuoma listened to the movement coming from behind, the shrill cry, and the sudden heat and scorching smell. She had a guess in her heart. Her body trembled, and she didn't dare to look back to see what happened. Well, turn your head. A moment later, Yi Tian turns his head, looks at Zhuoma's graceful figure and says. Hearing this, Zhuoma quickly turned her head and glanced over. She immediately saw that the 2 people on the Zhuangmen mountain who just wanted to plot against her had disappeared at this moment. Instead, they were 2 groups of black ashes on the snow. She had no doubt that the black ash might be the last trace left by the 2 scum in the world. However, she couldn't understand how the 2 living people became what they are now after a short time. Why, you didn't even thank me for saving you? Seeing this, Yi Tian looks at Zhuoma playfully and laughs. Thank you, young master. Zhuoma heard this just like a dream, hesitated for a long time, to Yi Tian respectful salute thanks. In her opinion, since Yi Tian and Lu Yinzhao are friends, they are naturally 2 generations higher than her. However, she really has no way to call someone of her own age Yi, so she added a small word in front of them to adapt to Yi Tian's young identity. Forget it, you'd better call me elder brother Yi or elder generation. It's strange to call me young master. Hearing this, Yi Tian waved his hand with a bitter smile. Let appear, open mouth close to small Yi 2 words to call himself, this really let Yi Tian some can't do. Yes, thank you, brother Yi. Joma heard this, quickly changed his tongue to the leaf Tian 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 Tian. What are you going to do? Continue to go into the mountains to find your grandfather, or? Yi Tian nodded, followed closely, looking at Zhuoma Road. I still want to go into the mountain to see how my grandfather is now. By the way, I'll help him fill those pits. There are many people and great strength. Moreover, I've already thought that my grandfather is old. I'll take up his responsibility as a forest ranger slowly. Zhuoma heard this, immediately nodded, and then showed perseverance in her eyes. Sure enough, this girl is ambitious enough. Ambition. Yi Tian nodded slightly, looking at Zhuoma's look, more admiration. You know, most of the girls who are about the same age as Zhuoma, or even older, are just chasing stars. What they want to do is to make a list for their brother, boost their popularity and sales, and do something totally meaningless. Zhuoma, however, wanted to be a forest ranger. This difference could not be ignored or respected. Since you are going to find Master Lu, go to the mountain temple to find him as I said. Immediately after that, Yi Tian told Zhuoma that he would take out an amulet from the storage ring and give it to Zhuoma, saying, this little thing is for you. In this way, if you are in danger again, you don't have to be afraid. You can be safe. Such a small thing can keep me safe? Zhuoma smell speech toward Yi Tian's hand holding that piece of jade card after looking at eyes, very some can't believe, can think of, just that abrupt incomparable disappear of two people, in the heart of that can't believe, immediately disappear, stretch out a hand to take off the jade card, to Yi Tian respectfully salute, Wei, elder brother Yi, thank you, I will wear it. If I have something else to do, I won't send you to the mountain. Yi Tian nodded with a smile and said, however, I have one thing to tell you. After you enter the mountain, you must remember to say a few more good words about the mountain god grandfather, and no matter what you see, you must try to keep calm. Ah? Zhuoma hears the sound and looks at Yi Tian in confusion. He doesn't quite understand what he means. Believe me, it will do you no harm. Yi Tian smiles to Zhuoma mysteriously and says. As Yi Tian has seen, the forest rangers in Kunlun Mountain are not so easy to do. They have to deal with not only ordinary poachers, but also mountain people. If you only deal with poachers, you will not panic if you have a gun in your hand. But if you deal with people on the mountain, you can not only have a gun in your hand, you need to have strong strength to protect the peace of Kunlun Mountain. Under such circumstances, the best way is that the forest rangers can also set foot on the road of cultivation. Before that, when he was in the mountain temple, he wanted to teach Lu Yanzhao, but unfortunately, he was too old. But Zhuoma was different. She was still young and could have unlimited possibilities, but now he didn't have time to tell Zhuoma how to practice. However, in addition to him, there was an excellent preacher on Kunlun Mountain. That man is the one who was called the mountain god grandfather. This guy has excellent skills, and he has a lot of resources in Kunlun. As long as Zhuoma can get its inheritance, even if the future is foreseeable, it can at least make her safe and deal with a few mountain people who sneak into the mountain to poach. Moreover, with such a master as Shanshan grandfather, from now on, she will be walking horizontally in Kunlun Mountain. Yes, I remember. Although Zhuoma didn't understand the meaning of these words, she nodded her head. She felt that Yi Tian would not harm her, so to say, let her do so, will give her great benefits. Ding-ling-ling. But at this time, Yi Tian's mobile phone in his pocket suddenly beeps. He takes it out and finds that it's Ning Shue's phone. Ning Shue, what's the matter? What's the matter? After the phone is connected, Yi Tian immediately asks Ning Shue curiously. I heard that you are in Kunlun recently. Are you still here? Soon, the voice that phoned there then spread rather snow curiously more takes a few minutes to expect. I'm still in Kunlun Mountain, ready to leave. What's the matter? Yi Tian tells the truth. Great. Ning Shui immediately cheered when she heard this. Although across the phone, but Yi Tian can almost feel that the phone there Ning Shui must be jumping up. It made him laugh and cry. He is not a fool, can feel, rather snow to his heart. However, he did not know how to respond to this expectation. Well, our Shueji ointment doesn't need to use Yue jade powder as a medicine guide? I'm hearing Yudu now, and I'm going to attend this year's jade mining and raw stone trading conference. As you know, it's hard for immortals to break inch jade. I don't know much about this aspect, so I want to find you to sit down for a while. At this time, Ning Shui also realized that her reaction just now was a little too excited. She was embarrassed to spit out her tongue. She suppressed the joy in her heart, and then said in a hopeful tone, I don't know if you have time there? If you have time, can you come here to Yudu and help me to take charge of it? With you in my heart, I have some bottom. No problem, I'll go to Yudu with you. Yi Tian hears the hope in the voice of Ning Shui's words. He really can't bear to refuse. Moreover, he has nothing to do recently, so he nods. Well, I'll wait for you in Ningcheng. Let's go to Yudu by bus. Ning Shui hears Yi Tian's words, and there is a little more light smile in her voice. Even through the phone, Yi Tian can imagine the joy she can't hide from her eyes. Yi Tian nodded, then hung up the phone, part bursts of regret, more guilt. From the joy and excitement in Ning Shui's voice, he can feel the deep feelings of the other party for himself. But unfortunately, now Ning Yao has not recovered. He really has no intention of anything else. He is worried that he will fail such a good girl. Brother Yi, are you going to Yudu? Did you tell my grandfather that he could introduce Emperor Yu to you so that it would be easy? At this time, Zhuoma looks at Yi Tian and inquires curiously. The Jade Emperor? Hearing this, Yi Tian raised his eyebrows to Zhuoma and asked with a smile. The name of Jade Emperor sounds very domineering. It seems to be very influential in Yudu. Well, the Jade Emperor is the biggest jade merchant in Yudu and a friend of my grandfather. I met him last year during the spring festival. Zhuoma immediately nodded without thinking, followed closely, said, moreover, the Jade Emperor can be said to be a truly strange person. Strange man? What a strange way, you tell me. Yi Tian heard this, curiosity was completely Zhuoma hookup, curious to ask him. As the saying goes, a strong dragon does not oppress a local snake. Although Yi Tian is a sea dragon, let alone a snake, he can easily suppress even a python. But doing business, after all, is not a fight. It is the best choice to do business with peace of mind and mutual benefit, so as to avoid trouble in the future. These things, I also listened to my grandfather, should never leave 10. Zhuoma nodded and told Yi Tian all she knew about the Jade Emperor. The Jade Emperor, of course, is not his real name, but a nickname given to him by the people of the Jade capital. His real name is Yu Qi'er. To be exact, it is Yu Qi'er. Because, not long after the Jade Emperor was born, his parents died. It was his grandparents who brought him up to the age of 5 or 6. At that time, 2 old people went into the mountain to pick jade, met the blind bear and died. From then on, he became a helpless orphan, living by begging everywhere and eating 100 meals. Under the circumstances at that time, everyone had forgotten the real name of Emperor Yu, only remembering that he was a poor little beggar named Yu Qi'er, but no one thought that before he was 18 years old, Yu Qi'er was just a beggar. On his 18th birthday, this guy, with the 2,000 yuan he had earned by picking up waste products and working hard in Yudu, went to the gambling ground of Yudu and bought a piece of jade that didn't look very good. But no one thought that Yu Qi'er's salted fish turned over this extremely humble and unpopular raw jade, from which a piece of high-quality white mutton fat jade was released. It sold for nearly 2 million yuan and made a lot of money, which opened his Jade Emperor road. What's more, when people's good luck comes, they can't even stop it. Yu Qi'er's life is like opening the door. Everything is surprisingly smooth. Especially in the gambling arena, his luck is even better. No matter what the quality of jade, even the rarest, is called dog urine ground. As long as it comes to his hand, it's like being the finishing touch. It's not the best jade, it's also the best jade. It doesn't matter if you have good luck once or twice, but it's rare that you've had such good luck all your life. Yu Qi'er, however, is very competitive. After earning money, he didn't eat and drink, and made it all. Instead, he bought several jade veins in Yudu and opened several gambling arenas. In his 30s, people in Yudu were surprised to find that his industry had occupied 60% of Yudu. Under such circumstances, people are naturally embarrassed to call in Yuchier again. Yuchier himself changed his name to the homonym of Yuchier in memory of his previous misfortune. However, the people of Yudu, who dare to call it this way, call Yuchier Emperor Yu and complete the transformation from beggar to emperor. As for today, in Yudu, there is an unwritten rule. No matter what you want to do in Yudu, you must first worship the emperor. The emperor allows you to do things in Yudu. And this emperor, of course, is Yuchier, the beggar emperor. From beggar to emperor, the Jade Emperor is really legendary. Tian hears this language, also can't help but slightly speechless, although people in the world have a habit that they like to exaggerate each other's deeds and achievements intentionally or unintentionally after someone becomes famous or achieves something, giving each other a strange legend. But there may be exaggeration in the rumors, but a person, from a penniless little beggar, suddenly becomes a Jade Emperor who stomps his feet and shakes his feet in places like Yudu. There is absolutely no way to fake it. A person's fate, such as from the mire to climb the huge transformation of clouds, cannot but let people praise. How did Master Lu know Emperor Yu? Immediately after, Yi Tian inquires curiously to Zhuoma. Emperor Yu likes to keep dogs. He bought Tibetan Mastiff here before. He took a fancy to Gangresenge and offered millions of high prices, but my grandfather didn't sell them. They became friends instead. My grandfather also gave him some puppies from Gangresenge. During the spring festival, they would get together and drink some wine. Zhuoma said with a smile. I see. It seems that the character of the Jade Emperor is not bad if he can be recognized as a friend with Master Lu. Yi Tian hears the sound and nods suddenly. He is more curious about the Jade Emperor. Brother Yi, don't worry. When I see my grandfather, I'll tell him about it. I'll ask him to call Uncle Yu and tell him that you want to find him. It will be much smoother then. Immediately after, Zhuoma said to Yi Tian with a smile, leave me your mobile phone number, so that I can contact you. Good. Yi Tian heard the sound, nodded and said his number. Zhuoma smell speech, quickly take out the mobile phone, write down the number of Yi Tian, but Yi Tian didn't notice the cunning and hope in the little girl's eyes. Ningning is just a peer, but it is so powerful that Zhuoma has a strong curiosity about Yi Tian and wants to have more contact with him. Brother Yi, I went to the mountain to find my grandfather. After my grandfather and Emperor Yu said, I will contact you. Immediately after that, Zhuoma waved his hand to Yi Tian and rushed to the snow mountain. Be careful, remember what I said, be respectful to the mountain god and say more good things about it. Yi Tian looks at Zhuoma's back, exhorts, and then rushes down the mountain. Before long, he left Kunlun Mountain smoothly, found a small town nearby, and then took a ride to Ningcheng. When he arrived, Ning Shuai had been waiting for him at Ningcheng Station. Yi Tian is looking forward to Ning Shuai's face, immediately showed a brilliant smile. How are things going? Yi Tian nodded to Ning Shuai with a smile and asked with a smile. We need a lot of jade. I contacted several jade merchants in Yudu, and they couldn't eat this list. Ning Shuai sighed and said slowly, and with such a large list, only the Jade Emperor can take it in the Jade capital. It's just that the Jade Emperor is very mysterious. I haven't contacted him yet. Don't worry about it. I've nearly found a way. When we get to the Jade capital, we'll see the Jade Emperor. Leaf Day hears rather snow this word, smiled to put to wave a hand, way. Really? Ning Shuai listened to this words, on the face immediately show the color of shock, dare not set channel. The Jade Emperor is very mysterious. According to the jade dealers in Yudu that she contacted, it's very difficult to get in touch with him. In this case, Ning Shuai is even ready to hit the wall once or twice. But she really didn't expect that Yi Tian had found a way to meet the Jade Emperor early. All this, can't let her praise Yi Tian's ability, more let her have a kind of, it seems that no matter what things in the world, all can't defeat the man around, and stand together with him, he can easily support this piece of sky for himself. Have you bought the ticket? If not, let's go and buy it. Closely follow, Leaf Date a rather snow smile to ask away. Yes, the train will start right away. Rather snow hears a sound, this just returned to God, flurried ordered to nod. Ningxing to Yudu, there is no plane, only train, and because of the vast territory of the frontier province, it has to take a full 2 days and 2 nights to get to Yudu. However, although the time in the train is long and boring, Ning Shui has a kind of joy in her heart. After all, for her, it is too rare for her to get along with Yi Tian for such a long time. Even, if possible, she hopes that the bus will run for 10 days and nights, or never reach the terminal. Soon, along the station, there is a broadcast for passengers to enter the station. Yi Tian helps Ning Shui pick up her luggage and get on the train. Ning Shui ordered a soft sleeper carriage. There are only 4 people in one carriage. The comfort is much better than that of hard seats and sleeper. Moreover, if it wasn't for the fact that the soft sleeper seats on this train had almost sold out, she would like to take the ID cards of other people in the company and book 2 more seats, so that this carriage will become a private space for her and Yi Tian. Not long after Yi Tian and Ning Shui entered the carriage, they ran in 2 men along the outside. One of them was a chubby man. As soon as they came into the carriage, they saw Ning Shui with straight eyes and a bright smile on their face. They were obviously excited that this long-distance bus could meet such a beautiful woman. As for another middle-aged man with a bulging briefcase, after entering the car, he looked at everyone in the car casually. Then he lay down in the bunk opposite Yi Tian, holding the briefcase, facing the wall, and fell asleep. With the sound of the siren, the train slowly drove towards Yudu. After leaving the town, it was a vast wasteland. It looked very magnificent. Not only that, after the train left for a moment, along the window, there are many snowflakes falling, the train passing through the snow, it has a dream feeling. The snow in the frontier is so heavy. Unfortunately, the car has left, so we can't get off to play with the snow. Ning Shui looks at the beautiful scenery of snowflakes outside the window, and then thinks that her sweetheart is by her side. She is happy, but also has some regrets. She hopes to walk in the snow with Yi Tianlai, until the snow covers their hair, such as from green silk to white head. Beauty, are you from the south? Are you going to Yudu, too? And at this time, the fat man hears these words, and asks Ning Shui with a smile. Well, I'm from the South China Sea. I seldom see snow. Ning Shui nodded politely and said politely. As she said, although there is a word snow in her name, Nanhai is a city that never snows. She only saw snow several times when she was traveling, but even so, she had never seen such heavy snow. No wonder, let me tell you, the snow in our frontier is just 2 words, fierce. The snow here, in fact, is nothing. The snow in Yudu and Kunlun mountains is really big. It's almost as big as a child's fist. Fat man is not stupid. He can hear the politeness and alienation in Ning Shui's words, but he still hopes to attract Ning Shui's attention by boasting. Is the snow in Kunlun really as big as he said? Ning Shui hears these words of fat man, turn ahead to look at Yi Tian immediately, inquisitive inquiry asks away. It's that big. Hearing this, Yi Tian looked at Ning Shui and nodded with a smile. Not long ago, when I was in Kunlun Mountain, I saw such big snowflakes, and some of them were almost as big as my fists often, just a second before the beginning of snow. A few seconds later, the whole mountain has become a white, that kind of scene, is really magnificent. I think, everyone's lifetime, should go to see Ning Shui listen to Yi Tian's words, surprised to open a cherry small mouth, some can't believe, more some hope. If you can walk side by side with Yi Tian in such a snowy scene, what a romantic picture it is. Man, you are in Kunlun Mountain now? The fat man looks at the expression on Ning Shui's face, and is not happy with the fact that it's Ming Ming's words, but Yi Tian's words have been robbed of the limelight. He looks at Yi Tian and laughs. You know, winter on Kunlun Mountain is very terrible, especially after snow. It can be called a Jedi. It's not only the terrible cold in the air after the snowfall, but also because the terrible snowfall will bury a lot of falling rocks and big pits on the mountain. Walking on the mountain, it's easy to fall to the bottom of the valley carelessly, and life and death are unpredictable. Even some full-time rescue team members and experienced climbers dare not rush to Kunlun Mountain in this snow season, let alone look like a student. Well, I just came back from the mountains. Yi Tianping is quiet, light way. Ha, man, you are boasting that you don't pay taxes. In the snow season of Kunlun Mountain, you run to the mountain rashly. I'm afraid you don't even know how you died. Fat Tian, this determined appearance, immediately burst into laughter, ridicule, full face looking forward to turning to Ning Shui, said, "Beauty, do you believe what he said?" After a word falls, the fat man blinks his small eyes and looks hopeful. He hopes that Ning Shui can cooperate with him and give a head-on blow to Yi Tian, a brag who doesn't pay taxes. I believe him. It's a pity that after hearing this, Ning Shui smiles sweetly at Yi Tian, and then looks natural and says, "I." Fat man hears the sound, immediately completely stupid. Ning Shui said so, this let him still can say what. However, he really can't figure out what's good about Yi Tian. He even let this beautiful woman be so devoted to him that she believed in such obvious boasting. But unfortunately, the fat man doesn't know. In this world, Ning Shui can't believe anyone's words, but she won't believe Yi Tian's words. The reason is very simple, she knows Yi Tian won't cheat her. "Yi Tian, how did you know Emperor Yu? I heard from those jade dealers that he is very cold and few people can see him." "How do you know him?" Ning Shui's eyes at the moment, only Yi Tian, don't want the fat man to disturb, so she digs off the topic and plans not to give the fat man a chance to take over. "Are you two going to Yudu to do jade business?" But at this time, the fat man heard this, but the light in his eyes was more brilliant. He asked, "Do you have anything to do with what we do?" Ning Shui hears these words, the face showed displeasure, looking at fat man, sink away. What she wants is to have a private space with Yi Tian, but now, she is disturbed by fat people, which inevitably makes her dissatisfied. "Beauty, I just want to kindly remind you, why be so impatient?" Fat man hears Ning Shui's words and laughs, then says lazily, "I advise you, if you are planning to do jade business, you can find anyone in Yudu. Don't look for the Jade Emperor. Now, he is a mud bodhisattva crossing the river. It's hard for him to protect himself. Where else can you mind other people's business? Mud bodhisattva crossing the river, it's hard to protect himself?" When Yi Tian and Ning Shui hear this, they can't help looking at each other, and their eyes show the color of confusion. According to Zhuoma, and the information Ning Shui inquired from those jade dealers, the Jade Emperor is famous in Yudu. He can be regarded as a big man who is about to make Yudu earthquake. But it's such a character. Now I listen to the meaning of fat man, but it's like a mud bodhisattva crossing the river. It's hard to protect himself. It's like a situation where life may not be able to be protected. How much trouble have you encountered? Is it difficult? Is it the collapse of the sky in Yudu? I just contacted jade dealers in Yudu. How do you know what they don't know? Read here. Yi Tian immediately raised eyebrows, a smile, looking at the fat man, with a playful face, said with a smile. He can see that this fat man belongs to the kind of person who likes to show off. If he asks questions with good words, he will make a fool of himself and play tricks to ask him. However, if he uses provocation, the other party will tell him the answer completely. Haha, of course, they don't know about it. To be exact, few people in the whole Yudu know it, and only those who are psychic like me know it. Sure enough, as soon as the fat man heard Yi Tian's words, he immediately raised his head, boasted arrogantly first, then laughed mysteriously, and then said, "There is a big problem in several jade mines under the Jade Emperor. I don't know what taboo I have made. 6 or 7 people have died when I run into something unclean. One by one, do you think he can afford it? What's wrong with the jade mine in the hands of the Jade Emperor?" When Yi Tian heard the sound, he looked awe-inspiring. You know, jade looks bright, colorful and clear, but in fact, it's all worked out by jade miners. If there's an accident in the mine and some workers die, it's definitely a big problem. What's more, it's easy for jade miners to have a kind of fear of veins when they encounter unclean things. They don't dare to go down the well to mine jade. At that time, no matter how good the quality of your veins is, no one will mine them. It's all bullshit. Although, under the heavy reward, there must be brave men, but in this world, not everyone thinks that money is more important than life. In particular, many jade miners lost their lives in these jade mines of the Jade Emperor. There must be fewer people who dare to work. Although the Jade Emperor is known as an emperor, he is not really an emperor who can speak his mind. If the jade miners are not willing to go down the well, he can't force these people into the well to dig jade for him. The Jade Emperor started with jade. Without jade, what kind of emperor can he be? Not only that, the Jade Emperor has gained great momentum in Yudu in recent years, and certainly not a few people have offended him and coveted his position. You know, in today's world, there have always been few people who send charcoal in the snow, while the number of people who take advantage of the fire is the most. Once the business of Emperor Yu goes wrong, there will be many people who will try their best to trample on him, plunder everything he owns, divide his position and overthrow the emperor. In this way, everything is exactly as the fat man said. If the Jade Emperor does not solve this problem, it will be the mud bodhisattva crossing the river, and it will be difficult for him to protect himself. But that's an opportunity. Although Lu Yinzhao and the Jade Emperor are friends, they have no interests at all. The Jade Emperor may help Lu Yinzhao in his face, but how much help he can do is unknown. But now, Emperor Yu is in trouble, and this kind of strange trouble is not his chance. As long as he can help Emperor Yu and solve his big problem, can he not help at that time? Immediately after, Yi Tian's eyes brighten and thinks in his heart that this may be a trouble, but in trouble, it's also an opportunity. After all, what he is good at most is not to solve this kind of mysterious and unknowable trouble in the eyes of ordinary people. What's the so-called ghost and what's the so-called unclean thing are just some forces that ordinary people can't understand. Now, it's trouble. At the same time, rather Snow's brow also twisted into a knot in one's heart, sink a voice way. She thought that Yi Tian could lead the line with Emperor Yu, and their business could be successfully won this time. But she didn't expect that before she arrived at Yudu, she learned that they had encountered such trouble. Don't worry, don't forget, I'm good at solving people's problems. For others, it may be trouble, but for us, it may be an opportunity. Leaf Day hears sound, looking at rather Snow to raise eyebrow a smile, calm way. Yes. How can I forget that Yi Tian is good at solving this kind of unknowable trouble? Ning Shui heard this, eyes immediately a bright, face showed a smile, full face worship looking at Yi Tian. Just as Yi Tian said, in her opinion, there is no one in the world who can solve problems more easily than Yi Tian. What unclean things, ghosts and spirits, are all illusory in front of Yi Tian. It's a big deal. Yi Tian makes some amulets to put on the workers who go down the well. At that time, won't it be that all evils will be turned away, and all this also makes her worship Yi Tian more. If ordinary people encounter such things, they must be at a loss. But when they come to Yi Tian, it seems that no matter how much trouble it is, they can understate it and solve it without any trouble. What is ability? This is ability. How can such a man not be admired and admired by people? I'll go. What's going on? This scene makes the fat man completely stupid. He thought that as soon as his explosive news was released, Yi Tian would immediately be stupid, and even dispel Ning Shui's admiration for Yi Tian. However, the development of the matter is not in accordance with his expectation. Ning Shui just appears a short absence, and then looks at Yi Tian with admiration and admiration. That kind of eyes really let him see envy-hate, heart is except big stuffy sun. Haha, beauty, you are really simple enough. You believe what he says. Do you think he is an omnipotent god? Think of here, the fat man really can't swallow this tone, absolutely prick Ning Shui, dispel her worship to Yi Tian. What he said, what I'm sure. And you are right. In my eyes, he is God, the God of my life. Just what makes fat man completely stupid is that Ning Shui looks directly into his eyes after hearing his words, naturally. He is the God of my life. The fat man stared and opened his mouth. He couldn't say a word at all. After a long time, he muttered, "Beauty, you're exaggerating a bit." He really can't understand what a man has to do to make a woman think he is the God in her life. But where does the fat man know that in the past, it was Yi Tian's talisman? It was Yi Tian's hand that cured her grandfather Ning Shui's illness, which saved her from the fate of marrying someone she didn't like. Similarly, it was Yi Tian who gave her the gold-lettered signboard of Shuiji Gao and her present attainments. It can be said that Yi Tian changed her fate. What's the difference between these things and gods? The God of life. Don't say it's fat, even if it's Yi Tian. When he hears Ning Shui's words, he can't help looking at Ning Shui, and his eyes are trembling and throbbing. He knows, rather Snow has love to oneself, have good impression, but also really did not expect, unexpectedly arrived at such a situation. God in life, Ning Shui, how much do you trust yourself to say such words? Exaggeration? Ning Shui heard this, and then saw the surprise and shock on Yi Tian's face. Although there was blush on her cheek, her eyes became brighter. Taking this opportunity, she continued to express her feelings and said, "No, I didn't exaggerate at all. He is the God in my life." Good, just think I didn't say anything. At this moment, the fat man was completely convinced. After a long time, he shook his head with a bitter smile and followed closely. He gave a thumbs up to Yi Tian. At this moment, he even has some curiosity. Yi Tian is not to Ning Shui poured ecstasy soup, otherwise, such a beautiful girl, temperament is also so good, and dressed, a look is not the kind of lack of money family, how can Yi Tian die hard to such a shocking degree? Ning Shui doesn't pay attention to the fat man's attitude at all, but she is blushing with shyness on her face, but she looks at Yi Tian with firm eyes. She said so much, in fact, what she did was to let Yi Tian know how much she cared about him. The most difficult thing to accept is beauty. Yi Tian looks at Ning Shui's eyes and sighs in his heart. But for a while, he doesn't know what to say to Ning Shui. If he doesn't feel anything about Ning Shui, it's absolutely impossible. How many people can't find such an excellent and gentle girl with a lantern? How can he feel nothing when the other party likes him now? In fact, Yi Tian doesn't care about the worldly thing that a man can only have one woman. In the square-inch spiritual realm, he sees more male friars and groups of beauties around him. Therefore, he has long been indifferent to all this. But what is different from those people is that many of the male monks are greedy for the beauty of the female nuns and like the feeling of the stars, but he is different. He is more concerned about Ning Yao's feelings. Now, Ning Yao's spirit is in a state of deep sleep, and his life and death are uncertain. How can he do it? When his beloved is in such a state, he is still half-hearted. Moreover, all this, first of all to get the consent of Ning Yao. Ding-ling-ling. At this time, Yi Tian's mobile phone suddenly rings, breaking the dead silence. When he takes out the mobile phone, he finds that it is a strange number. "Brother Yi, I'm Zhuoma. I've found my grandfather. He wants to talk to you." As soon as the phone was connected, Zhuoma's voice came from there. Then Lu Yinzhao's voice came from there, saying, "Brother Yi, Zhuoma told me everything. Thank you. After helping me so much, you saved Zhuoma. You are a benefactor of our family." Granddaughter's name is Big Brother, and grandfather's name is Old Brother. When Yi Tian heard Lu Yinzhao's words, he said with a smile, "You're serious, old man. What I've done is not enough to lift a finger. I can't be your heavy evaluation." As he said, he didn't do all this in order to get any reward from Lu Yinzhao and Zhuoma, just because these people did what he thought was right, and those who dealt with them stepped on the bottom line that he couldn't stand. "No words, I and Zhuoma, thank you." Lu Yinzhao said in a deep voice and said, "Zhuoma told me about the Jade Emperor. I called my brother about it, but he said that he is in a mess now. He doesn't have time to take care of these things. Maybe you have to worry about it yourself. Things have changed." Yi Tian's heart sank when he heard the news. When the fat man said this, he had already guessed that even if he had Lu Yinzhao's relationship, it was not so simple to go to the Jade capital and want to see the Jade Emperor. After all, now the Jade Emperor is in a mess. Even if he has a good relationship with Lu Yinzhao, where can he care for others? "Sir, I've already known about what happened to Emperor Yu. If you help me to contact him again, you can say that I have a way to help him solve the problems he's facing and let him see me. Of course, if he doesn't believe it, then forget it. I'll think of a way myself." Yi Tianyan in here, immediately to Lu Yinzhao deep voice way. As said, although they came to Yudu to ask Emperor Yu for help, as the saying goes, it's better to ask someone to do something than to be asked to do something. These are two completely different concepts. Therefore, he hoped to help Emperor Yu solve the trouble, but he didn't go to the pole to ask the other party to agree with him for help. He didn't mind. Emperor Yu begged him again after he was in a state of anxiety. After all, as the saying goes, sending charcoal in the snow is better than icing on the cake. It's not a good thing to let Emperor Yu believe so easily. Well, I'll talk to him. But I can tell that he's really in a bit of a mess now. I'm afraid he won't listen to me. Hearing this, Lu Yanzhao immediately nodded his head and agreed, but he didn't say so much. It's okay. You can do as I say. It's okay whether you succeed or not. Yi Tian smiles, indicating that Lu Yanzhao doesn't have to worry about it. Soon, Lu Yanzhao hung up the phone, and then waited for Lu Yanzhao to call Emperor Yu again. Brother Yi, I'm really sorry. I heard what my brother meant. He should have found someone to solve the problem, and he was quite confident. He declined my words. I'm afraid I can't help you this time. However, Brother Yu also said that when he has solved the problem, I can see you. It's just that time may be delayed for a long time. Not long after, Lu Yanzhao's phone will open again, some embarrassed to Yi Tiandao. Although he had a good friendship with Emperor Yu, it didn't involve interests. This time, the matter was too big. Emperor Yu was worried and didn't dare to believe him, which was justifiable. Well, I see. Lu Yanzhao's answer did not exceed Yi Tian's expectation. He immediately laughed and nodded. Since Emperor Yu couldn't trust him, he tried to find a way to let Emperor Yu understand how wrong it was to not believe them. What's Emperor Yu's recent itinerary, and it's a big event that he will definitely go to? Thinking of here, Yi Tian looks at Ning Shui and inquires. As far as I know, there will be a Jade gambling meeting in these 2 days, and the Jade Emperor will definitely take part in it. After all, he made his fortune by gambling on Jade, and the more critical it was, the more he needed to increase the number of times he appeared in front of people and stabilize people's minds. Ning Shui is in a hurry. Well, I'll borrow this Jade gambling meeting to let him understand what a wrong decision it was to not listen to Master Lu's advice. Yi Tian hears the sound and nods with a smile. He has decided to shine brilliantly at the Jade gambling meeting to make the Jade Emperor realize that he is not an idle person. Indeed, as Lu Yanzhao said, he can help him. Ha ha. But Yi Tian's voice just fell. Along the front came a burst of cold laughter. But this time, it was no longer a fat man, but a short, thin, middle-aged man who, as soon as he got on the bus, was sleeping with his briefcase facing the wall. Why, you have a problem with me, too. Yi Tian hears this voice, eyebrow lightly a yang, looking at that person's back figure, light way. He is also satisfied with the boring, rather snow, and his choice of this section of the car is not toxic. How, these guys, so like to sneer at him? Opinion? I have no problem with you. I just laugh at you. You don't know that heaven is high and earth is rich. You can't measure yourself. The short and thin middle-aged man didn't even look back, just a crisp and cold road. This guy is really crisp and can ruin people's interest. Yi Tian for a while speechless. At this moment, he really some doubt this section of the car feng shui, and he has some disagreement, special kai. Even if it's not because he has no acquaintance with these people, he should think that the other party is deliberately against him. Let me tell you, gambling on Jade is not a matter of eating and sleeping. It's not as simple as you think. Then, the short and thin middle-aged man, facing the wall, said word by word, I've seen the people who gamble on Jade. I've never seen the people who cut out the best suet jade with a knife in heaven. But with hope in his heart, I've seen many pitiful people who have lost their family, separated their families and lost their lives. A knife heaven, a knife hell. Heaven is rare, into hell are often. And once you go to hell, you will lose your family, your wife and children, and your family will be ruined. Yi Tian and Ning Shui listen to the voice of the short and thin middle-aged people. Their heart inexplicably gives birth to a heavy feeling. Especially Yi Tian, who has participated in the gambling stone fair outside the island, knows very well in his heart that the short and thin middle-aged man's words are not a lie, but a kind of truth. No one knows what the result will be before the gambling stone is cut down, so there is a saying that it's hard to be an immortal. So, unless you're out of luck, you'll lose 9 out of 10. Unfortunately, this short and thin middle-aged man did not know that he could win 10 bets without the help of luck. Forget it. I'll have nothing to say with you little things who don't know the heaven and earth. I'm kind enough to remind you that the water for gambling on Jade is very deep. Be careful to drown. After a word, the short and thin middle-aged man held his briefcase again and turned to the wall. He didn't know whether he was sleeping or recuperating. This guy. Yi Tian looks at his appearance, can't help but smile bitterly and shake his head. Although the words of the short and thin middle-aged people are hard to hear and speechless, Tian won't have the same opinion with him, because he knows that this is a kind reminder of the short and thin middle-aged people to himself. If he really beat the other party because he said a few words of truth, or what, then he really doesn't know the good heart. Don't think so much. When I get to Yudu, I'll find a way to have a good rest. If I'm hungry, I'll have something to eat. Follow closely, Leaf Day looking at rather Snowlight smile a, spin even if from the backpack inside took out some snacks, handed rather Snow. Ning Shui looks at Yi Tian's calm and determined appearance. At the moment, the heart that was hanging is also a big stone. She takes the snacks and eats them. The winter in the frontier is really too cold. Ning Shui peeled off a chocolate and bit it hard. She found that the chocolate was as cold as iron. She bit it hard and left a shallow impression on the surface. She couldn't help shaking her head with a bitter smile. It's not just chocolate. Although the heating has been turned on inside the car, the temperature outside the car is too low. In addition, the cold wind is pouring into the car along the crack, and occasionally a cold wind falls on the warm body, which makes people feel like they've been stabbed in Chile. Even though she has already set foot on the road of cultivation, this kind of feeling still makes her feel a kind of chill lingering and uncomfortable. It's too cold. I have to drink some wine to keep out the cold. Drink this bar. When Yi Tian hears the sound, he takes out the gourd and monkey wine from Sumi Jia, and then pours a cup for Ning Shui. When Ning Shui heard that she wanted to drink, she resisted, but when Yi Tian Gang poured out the wine, she smelled the rich aroma and the amber-thick liquor. She turned back and said, "This wine looks like it's delicious, I'll try it." Not only Ning Shui, but also the little fat man with narrow eyes and the short and thin middle-aged man were attracted by the strong fruit fragrance at this moment. Although they tried to endure and pretended not to care, the heavy breathing betrayed them. Not only Ning Shui, but also the little fat man with narrow eyes and the short and thin middle-aged man were attracted by the strong fruit fragrance at this moment. Although they tried to endure and pretended not to care, the heavy breathing betrayed them. What a sweet wine! Ah, the effect of this wine is so good. After a cup, the body is warm and not cold at all. After a cup, Ning Shui immediately felt that her stomach was like a small stove, and a heat flow diffused all over her body. It not only made her chill, but also made her forehead sweat. She even found that her cultivation state had signs of fluctuation. All this, let her have no doubt, Yi Tian, this wine must be extremely precious. You is that monkey wine you're drinking? But at this time, the short and thin middle-aged man who has been pretending to sleep suddenly turns his head and stares at the gourd in Yi Tian's hand. I'm very knowledgeable. I can smell it. Yi Tian smell speech, surprised to see a short thin middle-aged one-eye way. When I was in Shenangjia, I was invited to drink it once by my local friends. It smells very similar to this one. However, your gourd and monkey wine is more fragrant than the one I used to drink. The short and thin middle-aged man obviously likes the things in the cup. The aroma of the monkey wine makes him open his mouth, and as he talks, he stares at the gourd in Yi Tian's hand and swallows his saliva. How can the monkey wine brewed by ordinary monkeys compare with the monkey wine brewed by monkey with snow ginseng, snow lotus, etc.? Seeing this, Yi Tian chuckled, then raised his eyebrows at the short and thin middle-aged man and said, "Why, would you like some?" "Thank you very much. I've drunk it once, but I can't forget it all my life." The short and thin middle-aged man was overjoyed. He looked at Yi Tian, arched his hand, then turned around and fumbled for a long time in his briefcase. He found a crumpled paper cup and handed it to Yi Tian. Seeing this, Yi Tian smiles, raises the wine gourd and pours a shallow cup of monkey wine for the short and thin middle-aged man. Although the short and thin middle-aged people had spoken hard before, they were kind-hearted. They belonged to the kind of guy with knife mouth and bean curd heart. Although they spoke hard, they also gave a kind reminder. Yi Tian didn't mind giving him a little reward. "Little brother, even if I just said something unpleasant, you don't have to tease me like this. Is that enough to fill my teeth?" The short and thin middle-aged man looked down and couldn't help being happy. He looked at Yi Tian and shook his head with a bitter smile, indicating that he would add a little more. "It's for the sake of what you've just said, otherwise, it's not even there. And my wine is the essence of wine, remember a little bit of SIP, and be anxious to be held up. Don't blame me. Tian waved his hand and refused. This monkey wine is very effective. The short and thin middle-aged people have the symptoms of qi deficiency. If they drink it rashly, they may not be able to make up for it. To be stingy is to be stingy. It's just a little bit of wine. You can drink and talk in your sleep. The fat man glanced into the wineglass, then turned to look at the short and thin middle-aged man, and said with a smile, "Man, they are trying to humiliate you. If I were you, I would pour the wine on his face directly. None of your business." But what the fat man didn't expect was that the short and thin middle-aged man didn't need his way of provoking dissension at all. After hearing this, he turned his head indifferently, looked at him and scolded coldly. "You." The fat man was furious at the sound. He did not expect that his kind-hearted reminder was treated like this by the short and thin middle-aged people. "I'll try." Next, the short and thin middle-aged man smiles at Tian, then takes a cup and takes a sip. Well. The wine liquid bottom belly, short thin middle-aged people's eyes immediately abright, along the nose and mouth, is issued a long sigh. When the liquor entered his throat, he only felt that his mouth was full of fragrance. A hot line quickly spread to every part of his body, which made him really feel warm and open. He really felt that, just as Tian said, if he had just taken a big drink, he would have been held up like a strong liquor. Good wine. Good wine. The short and thin middle-aged man was full of praise. He ate all the monkey wine in the cup, then took some pure water and poured it into the cup. He didn't even let go of the wine hanging on the wall and drank it all. "Man, have you never drunk in your life? So greedy?" Fat man's silly eyes, speechless looking at the short thin middle-aged people, "This virtue is really too shabby. You know a fart." The short and thin middle-aged man scolded the fat man and politely, immediately looked at Tian and exclaimed, "Good wine. This is the best wine I've ever drunk in my life. If you can drink this wine once in your life, you will be satisfied even if you kick your legs tomorrow. If you can drink this wine once in your life, you will be satisfied even if you kick your legs tomorrow." Fat man heard this, a burst of dejected, in the end is what kind of good wine can afford such a high evaluation? It seems that you have never drunk any good wine in your life. Then, the fat man shook his head unconvinced, looked at the short and thin middle-aged man and mocked. At this moment, he was really holding a breath in his heart. He thought that he and the short and thin middle-aged people should be on one side. But he really didn't expect that this guy, unexpectedly, turned out to be on the other side of Tian, which really made him some can't bear this evil fire. "Haha, listen to what you mean, is that Su Sanwang didn't drink any good wine?" As soon as the short and thin middle-aged man heard the fat man's words, he immediately raised his head and laughed, looking at the fat man and playing with the taste. "Su Sanwang?" When the fat man heard the name, he couldn't help looking stunned. He felt that the name seemed familiar. Su Sanwang. You are Su Sanwang, who has a good eye for distinguishing jade, a good fortune for understanding jade, and a good taste for wine. Then, when the fat man stared at the short and thin middle-aged man's cheek and scanned it carefully, he exclaimed in disbelief. "Su Sanwang is a famous figure in Yudu. Although he is not as famous as the emperor, he is not waiting for idlers. However, Su Sanwang is not a jade merchant, but a skilled master of jade interpretation. He has a first-class eye for jade and a first-class technique of jade interpretation. Moreover, his fortune is very prosperous, but he is not prosperous himself, but others. Basically, there is no loss in the original jade bought by him, and there is no loss in the original jade bought by him. At least, it is a break-even. What's more, he loves wine as much as his life. In order to ask him to help identify and understand jade, many jade merchants not only give him a fee, but also offer him all kinds of good wine. Jade merchants are definitely one of the most prosperous people in the world. They don't have any good wine in their hands. If we say that even Su Sanwang hasn't drunk good wine, then I'm afraid few people in the world dare to say that they have drunk good wine. I'm sorry, Mr. Su. I didn't know it was you. Otherwise, even if you lent me 10 courage, I wouldn't dare to say that." Immediately after that, without any hesitation, the fat man quickly nodded and bowed to Su Sanwang and apologized. It turns out that this short, thin, middle-aged man, who looks ugly, is also the number one figure in Yudu. It is true that he is not good looking. However, since this guy is the number one person, how can he be so lazy? It seems that he is extremely lazy without the spirit of a successful person. Tian hears these words, also can't help but some surprise to see an eye to Su San Wang, in the Mao revealed curiosity. Little brother, I advise you that if you like someone, just be yourself and pursue it. There's no need to show your dignity by belittling others and stepping on others. We are all from the Jade Capital. We should know that as long as it's a beautiful jade, even if it's covered by dust, it's also a beautiful jade. If it's a mountain stone, even if it grows flawlessly, even if it grows on the beautiful jade, it's just a hard stone. At this time, Su San Wang is looking at the fat man, Light Wei. A language falls on fat man's face, immediately is full of thick shame color, which can't find a ground crack to drill in. If he had known that the man opposite was Su San Wang, the great Buddha, he would not have dared to say so even if he had lent him 100 courage. And this little brother, don't blame my broken mouth. I've drunk your good wine. I really want to remind you that things on the gambling ground are not as simple as you think. It's hard for immortals to break inch jade. The water in this line is too deep. Even if people praise me and call me Su San Wang, I really don't know that I will smash this signboard one day. Over the years, I've been struggling in the gambling arena, and I've seen more people with dreams of becoming rich overnight, but most of them have lost their wealth. Listen to my advice, after you go to Yudu, you want to play 2 pieces and try your luck. Brother, I can help you choose and solve for you. But if you want to play a big one, I advise you to buy a ticket after you get off the bus. It's better to go back to where you come from. Su San Wang didn't pay attention to the fat man's expression, but turned his head and looked at Yi Tian and Ning Shui. His expression was very sincere and continued to persuade him. Not only that, when he said these words, Su San Wang sighed and sighed, with a deep feeling on his face. That kind of feeling, let Yi Tian feel. Su San Wang seems to see more than such things, but personally experienced such things. Brother Su, it seems that you have had similar experience when listening to your words? Yi Tian ponders for a while and inquires curiously to Su San Wang. It's true that people say that I am Su San Wang. I have a good eye for jade, a good hand for jade, and a good taste for wine. But where do they know what's going on with this San Wang? When Su San Wang heard this, he gave a bitter smile and said slowly, 30 years ago, when I got home in the frontier logistics transportation, I was encouraged to come to the Jade Capital to solve the jade problem. As a result, I fell in love with it as soon as I came here. First I untied a few pieces of jade and made a lot of money. Later, I became more and more courageous and bought more and more raw stones. As a result, I took all my wealth and bought them. It's a piece of high-quality original stone. After cutting it, it's full of quartz. From then on, it's ruined. A knife down, ruin. This gambling ground is really a hell. Hearing the sound, Yi Tian looks at Ning Shui and sighs in his heart. It doesn't matter if the gambling is broken. Money can always be earned. But those who lose red, I don't think so. They always think that they can have a chance to gamble again. Since then, I have stayed in Yudu and worked in the jade mine day and night to earn money. I don't give it to my family, but I take it to gamble. As a result, I gamble once and lose once. At that time, I became addicted to alcohol. The more I lost, the more I felt about drinking. Later, I even want to sell the girl in my family, buy a stone, wait for the solution, and then buy my daughter back. At this time, Su San Wang continued to whisper. When he spoke, his fingers were shaking and tears were rolling from the corner of his eyes. Hiss. Yi Tian takes a breath of air and looks at Su San Wang. He has to say that if everything is exactly what this guy says, then he is really a bastard. However, the gambler who lost his red eye is not like this. Even if he has a few yuan, he wants to use it in the place where he hopes to get rich overnight. At that time, I was completely crazy. After I broke the stone and lost all my family property, my wife, who moved to Yudu and worked as a cook in other people's restaurants, could see that I was totally hopeless, so she ran away with my children while I was drunk. Su San Wang murmured word by word. A knife to hell. It's not just hell, it's 18 levels of hell. Separated wife and children, broken family. When Yi Tian heard the speech, he sighed and finally understood why Su Sanwang felt so much about gambling stones. No matter who he was, he would have a deep feeling when he encountered such a thing. However, Su Sanwang is good. At least he has come out, but how many people are still wandering in the Jade Capital, holding the dream of becoming rich overnight and returning to the Jade Emperor's dream? They left, and I finally woke up. I found many places, but I couldn't find them. I went back to Yudu, and began to help people identify and understand Jade. Slowly, I came out of the name of Su Sanwang. However, I have never gambled on Jade since then. Su Sanwang seemed to have a lot of depression in his heart. He wanted to find someone to talk to. After a long sigh, he continued, "This time, I heard a friend say that I saw their wives in Kundu, so I ran to look for them. As a result, people saw them, but they refused to follow me anymore. Even if I was carrying a bag of money, I would change it Zhang Lipi's divorce certificate. I know that she's afraid of me. She's afraid that I'll gamble again. She's afraid that something like that will happen again." At the end of the day, Su Sanwang, who was already sobbing, pulled open his briefcase. The red banknotes in it were all over the bed, and the green divorce certificate in the middle of the red banknotes was very eye-catching. If you make a wrong bet, you will lose your family, your wife and children will be separated, and there is no way back. This bet on Jade is really a hell. Yi Tian looks at Su Sanwang's miserable appearance, and he can't help feeling in his heart. Ning Snow also sighs gently, in the heart for Yi Tian want to bet Jade things, at this moment, also gave birth to a bit uneasy. Su Sanwang had some wealth in the past, but it was because of gambling on Jade that he lost his family, separated his wife and children, and even had the idea of selling his children. I'm afraid that's why even now Su Sanwang has vowed not to gamble anymore, and Su Sanwang's wife doesn't dare to be with him anymore. I'm afraid that he is worried that one day, Su Sanwang will make the same mistake again, go back to the old way, and gamble again. Last time, she was afraid of being hurt. She didn't want to be hurt again. With such a bloody example, she is worried that Yi Tian's present determination is not as firm as he said. There will be changes, and she may not be able to win without losing. If Yi Tian misses and becomes the same as Su Sanwang, what should he do then? She once heard a saying that the more genius, the crazier it is. Yi Tian is absolutely a genius. Will he be crazier than Su Sanwang? Forget it, these unhappy things will not be mentioned. After wiping his tears, Su Sanwang saw that the atmosphere in the carriage was a little heavy. He quickly squeezed out a smile that was uglier than crying. Then he looked at Yi Tian and Ning Shui and said, "Don't blame me, brother. I've been drinking wine and my mouth is broken. Although we've never met before, if you want to bet on Jade, you must think about my experience first. Remember, bet on Jade. It's okay to play, but it's good to gamble a little, but it's bad to gamble a lot." "Well, we remember. Thank you, brother Su." Ning Shui hears the sound and nods to Su Sanwang in a hurry, then looks at Yi Tian. Gambling on Jade is extremely dangerous. A knife to heaven is a lifetime of wealth. It can even make a great man like the Jade Emperor who shakes the jade with his feet, but the same, a knife hell, indulge not wake up, that is, the family is broken, separated, even if it is many years later lost, prodigal son back, it is too late. She doesn't hope that the person she likes will become a person like Su Sanwang and face such pain. "Don't worry, I'll be careful." Yi Tian sees Ning Shui's eyes, smiles and says in a warm voice. After a conversation, the distance between the two people is getting closer. Su Sanwang doesn't drink Yi Tian's wine for nothing. He also takes some small bottles of wine from his bag and gives them to Yi Tian. The two people take a bag of peanuts and drink while talking about the local conditions and customs of Yudu. Ning Shui listens quietly, holds her chin and looks at Yi Tian with a smile. She likes the feeling that she is at home and her wife is watching her husband chatting with others. As for the fat man, he is naturally excluded from this circle. Looking at the three people talking and laughing, his eyes are full of anger. Especially looking at Ning Shui Wang's eyes to Yi Tian, he is filled with bursts of anger. He wants to swallow Yi Tian alive. Su Sanwang belongs to the kind of master who opens his mouth as soon as he drinks. He has seen a lot of things and accumulated a lot of stock in Yudu these years. He tells Yi Tian a lot about what he saw and heard in Yudu these years, the quality of raw jade, the division of power in Yudu, and the interesting things in the jade gambling field. After some exchanges, Yi Tian and Ning Shui have a general understanding of Yudu. Among the jade capitals, there are 9 largest jade mines, which almost support 80% of the frontier jade market in China. Of these 9 jade mines, 6 are in the hands of the Jade Emperor, and the other 3 are in the hands of the frontier Lu family. However, the Lu family is much more low-key than the Jade Emperor. Many people only know the frontier Jade Emperor, but they don't know the frontier Lu family. Moreover, the Lu family is not such an upstart as the Jade Emperor. Their jade business has been able to push forward hundreds of years ago, and even once was a special imperial merchant for the royal family. I'll tell you, I think there's a big reason why the Jade Emperor came across such a thing this time. It's all related to the Lu family. In recent years, I've learned a lot about the raw stones excavated from the Lu family's jade mine. Even if they are the best in appearance, they just don't lose money. There's no way to make a lot of money. The market is not so satisfied with the Lu family's raw stones after hundreds of years of digging. The quality of their jade mine may be declining because it is going to bottom out. After a long time, Su Sanwang squints drunk, lowers his voice, and tells Yi Tian a secret. Lu's jade mine bottomed out and naturally lost control of the business. Under such circumstances, they naturally have to find another way to maintain Lu's reputation. So, naturally, the Jade Emperor who has robbed the limelight of the Lu family over the years is the first choice. As long as they can grab the jade mine from each other, the Lu family can continue to grow in the jade capital and maintain their glory for hundreds of years. However, these things are just my guess. They are big people, and I'm just a pawn. I can't control the situation. Whoever has the upper hand, I'll explain jade to him. I don't have to think so much. Su Sanwang said the situation with a smile. It can be seen that he has been indifferent to the so-called overnight wealth, and he knows that it is only plain and light that is true. After killing 2 bottles of wine, it was dark, and the light in the carriage was put out by the steward. Ning Shui was sleepy long ago, and little by little, they went back to their bunks to sleep. Bang bang. The northwest frontier is vast. The distance between cities is no less than that of an inland province. In this case, the slight impact of wheels and rails becomes the best hypnotic medicine. The situation of Yudu is not as simple as you think. The business of jade mining, which can be called a business without capital, and the industry of gambling on jade, which is rich in cash flow, can't help but be moved by it. Perhaps, behind the present crisis of the Jade Emperor, it may be the wrestling between the clans on the mountain. All the way speechless, dazed, Yi Tian suddenly heard, along the car, suddenly came a light crash sound. The voice, though very weak, could hardly be detected, was clearly absorbed by Yi Tian. Moreover, he could feel that it was not like the sound of stones and iron falling on the train, but like the sound of wild animals falling on the train. Of course, it could also be people. Does anyone want to rob a car? Think of here. Yi Tian's eyes suddenly changed, sleepiness all dissipated, mind scattered, shrouded in the car. After all, the frontier is vast and uninhabited. There are a lot of no man's land. When the vehicles pass through the railway, what happens in the middle of the way? Even if there is rescue, the speed will not be in time. If someone really robs and finishes the case, there will be plenty of time to escape into the no man's land. However, if it's really robbery, the other party should pick the skin of such a high-speed train. This reckless courage is really big enough. Sure enough, someone has come up. A few minutes later, Yi Tian suddenly heard, along the box outside, suddenly came a sharp wind, followed by the sound of feet standing on the ground. Hola! Not only that, the other party's position was almost outside their box. Almost at the moment when Yi Tian's mind changed, the door of the box was pulled open. Then, the glare of the flashlight suddenly lit up the whole box. What the hell are you doing? What are you crazy about? In the middle of the night? The light of the strong light flashlight is too dazzling. It makes the fat man wake up immediately. After sitting up from the bed, he covers his face with his hands and scolds the direction of the light. Be honest. At this moment, along the back of the flashlight, came a cold voice, word by word, robbery. Robbery? A language false, originally full of impatient, scold the fat man. The expression on the face instantly solidified dull, fat body, is crazy shaking up. Especially when he saw the figure holding a flashlight, holding a black single-barrel shotgun in his hand. The chubby body, after shaking in the upper bunk, fell on the ground with a bang, making a series of shrill howls. Not only that, along his legs, there was a pool of fishy water spreading quickly, which made the ground wet. It was obvious that he pissed his pants. This guy is really useless. He was scared like this by such a little noise. When Tian saw this, he was speechless. Before the fat man spoke, he thought he had some courage, but he didn't expect that when danger came, he was scared into this virtue. It can be seen that in his huge body, what he hid was not a heart inferior to that of a child. Howl, what are you crying about? Take out your valuable things, or I'll shoot you. Unfortunately, the robber didn't show any pity for him because of his weakness. Instead, he stepped on his broken arm after falling from a high place. The sole of his foot kept exerting force and rolling. I give it, my wallet, it's all in the bag above. Fatty pain, nose tears are rolling down along the face, extremely hasty way. You're smart. The robber reached out to take the bag off the bed, opened the zipper and took out the wallet. When he saw that there were only 2 or 3 red tickets inside, he grabbed the wallet and smashed it on the fat man's face. He said coldly, "Boy, that's all you have to pay for the beggars? You want to kill me, don't you? I really don't have any money on me. Please spare me." The fat man wailed bitterly and begged for mercy. Then he said in a panic, "However, although I have no money, I know who has money in this car. I can point them to you. Please, rob them. Let me go. The fat man is going to sell out." Tian hears the sound, looks at the fat man's eyes, and immediately more scorn. The robber didn't do anything yet. With so much effort, the fat man had to sell the people in the carriage. It can be seen that this guy is not only timid, but also despicable. In the eyes of such goods, I'm afraid, except his own life is life, other people's life is nothing at all. Who has money? Say on hearing this, the robber kicked the fat man and then cheered coldly. In my box, there are 3 tycoons. The guy is Su San Wang, who is famous in Yudu. He took a big bag of cash with him when he went out this time. There are also 2. They are merchants who go to Yudu to buy jade. They have more money than Su San Wang. Fat man hears the sound, excites Ling Ling to shiver, then points to Tian, Ning Shui and Su San Wang, trembles. Su San Wang? When the robber heard the fat man's voice, his eyes changed, and the strong light flashed on Su San Wang's face immediately. When the light fell, he immediately laughed and said, "It's really you, old boy. If you don't want to die, if you want to live, you'll hand over the money honestly." Brother, a mistake has become a permanent hate. Although it's very empty outside the train, do you really think you can survive after the robbery? I advise you to forget it. Go to the police officer and turn yourself in. At that time, you can still reduce your sentence. Otherwise, you will be too late to repent. Seeing this, Su San Wang first glanced at the fat man coldly, then looked at the robber who wrapped his head in black cloth and only showed his 2 eyes, and said in a deep voice, "Su San Wang, don't give me the money. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude to you." However, it is a pity that Su San Wang's kind-hearted reminder was totally blind to the robber. The other party didn't accept his kind words and even pointed the gun at Su San Wang, and drank coldly. Stubborn, sooner or later you regret the time. Seeing this, Su San Wang shook his head, and then threw the briefcase full of money in front of the robber. Although the money was hard-won, he could tell the difference between life and money. He knew that if he didn't give the money to the robber, he was afraid that the robber would shoot him in anger. At that time, it would be too late. Ha ha ha, Su San Wang, I can't see that you've made a lot of money by solving jade every day. At this time, the robber lifted the cover of the briefcase with his feet. When he saw the pile of red tickets inside, his eyes immediately showed ecstasy and laughed. This guy knows about Su San Wang very well. Tian can't help picking the top of his brow when he hears the news. From the other party's words, he feels that this guy is likely to be from Yudu, and he should have a good understanding of the jade market. You two, give me the money. The boy has said that you two are here to buy jade. Do business people, do not play those virtual, and I said you have no money. Of course, if you think money is more important than life and you have to take a bullet, don't blame me. And at the moment of Yi Tian's thinking, the robber has aimed the flashlight and the muzzle of the gun at him in Ning Shui, and then Cold Wei. Ning Shui hears the sound, pinches the mineral water bottle tightly, infuses the whole body strength, and then looks toward Yi Tian, wants to see how he arranges. Brother, although we are hurting people, we can still carry it clear whether money or life is important. At this time, Yi Tian laughs at the robber twice, indicating that he should not be so nervous, and then says with a smile, I still understand the simple truth of spending money to avoid disaster. We have something to say. There's no need to do it. I'll give you the money now. Why is Yi Tian so easy to talk today? When Ning Shui hears Yi Tian's words, he can't help looking sluggish. He thought that Yi Tian would solve the robber by dividing 3 by 5 by 2, but he didn't expect that he intended to give the money to the robber. It turns out that this product is also a silver pewter spearhead. Even I'm not as good as that. I've been counseled before I've been beaten. The fat man on the ground was disappointed when he heard these words. In fact, he is still looking forward to Yi Tian can resist, and then get beaten, and then be robbed of all the money by the robbers. But I'm in a bit of trouble here. I didn't bring any cash with me for convenience when I went out this time. I brought gold bars with me. But gold bars are also good. If you take money to spend it, you may be tracked. But it's convenient to exchange gold bars for money. Is it right for you robbers? At this time, Yi Tian was looking at the robber and said with a smile again. Gold bars? Throw it quickly. When the robber heard this, his eyes immediately showed the color of ecstasy. You know, as Yi Tian said, this kind of large amount of cash is basically cereal. Banks can track it, but gold bars are different. It's hard currency. You can change money wherever you go, and no matter who you are, you can't find its origin. Okay, brother, you can connect it steadily. When Yi Tian heard this, he raised his eyebrows and chuckled. Then he thought about it. He took out 10 pieces of gold bricks from the storage ring. Each piece weighed 10 kilograms. Gold bars. No, it's the bricks. The strong light flashed on the gold brick, which made the robber's eyes dazzled. Brother, keep it steady. Next, Yi Tian's hands tremble, and pieces of gold bricks fly to the robbers with the roaring wind. What are you doing? The robber was stunned. He said it was true to let Yi Tian throw the bag. But he meant to let Yi Tian throw the bag. Unexpectedly, this guy really threw it directly. Bang, but without waiting for his voice to fall, the gold brick with the wind was slapped on his head. The heavy brick made him feel that the Venus was rising in front of him, and he was paralyzed on the ground. Brother, I told you to be steady. Why are you so unstable? Yi Tian sees this and laughs, but his eyes are cold. Isn't this guy robbing himself for money? Let him have a taste of what it's like to be killed by money. A piece of gold brick weighs 20 jin. It's hard for the robber to stand even if he wants to. This scene, all at once, is more like flying horses, which makes Su Sanwang and the fat man who used to be in the abdominal Fei Yi Tian dumbfounded. Just at that moment, they thought that Yi Tian was really planning to spend money to avoid disaster, but where did they think that Yi Tian took the money to smash the goods? However, they really can't figure out where Yi Tian got so many gold bricks from. A piece of 10 kilograms, now, on the ground, a full 7 or 8, nearly 160 jin. If we say that these gold bricks are packed in bags, how much strength does Yi Tian have to carry these things on his back? When you come out to rob, you can't even hold the money. You are stunned by the money. You are really shameful. Let me see what you stupid thief looks like. At this time, Yi Tian turned over and jumped down from the upper bunk, went to the robber and kicked him. Seeing that he was still angry, he kicked the single-barrel shotgun in his hand to one side, followed closely, and pulled the black cloth off the robber's face. As soon as the black cloth on the robber's face was torn off, Yi Tian immediately saw that the whole face of the robber was covered with ferocious scars like centipedes. The whole face could hardly see its original face. Hiss Li Hualien. How could it be him? At the same time, Su Sanwang looked at the robber's appearance and couldn't help exclaiming. Su Sanwang knows the robber? Yi Tian hears the news and gently picks his eyebrows. The situation in front of him is exactly the same as his guess. The robber is really from Yudu, and he is very familiar with Su Sanwang. Otherwise, he would not have been familiar with what he said before. Li Huolian is a well-known figure in Yudu. He has a lot of courage and has suffered a lot in the past. He was once attacked by wolves in the search for jade mines in the Gobi Desert, and his whole face became what it is now. But after eating, he naturally made money, and it is estimated that he also saved a lot of money. If he didn't have 100 million, he would have to have tens of millions. Unfortunately, he is more daring and gambler. Last year, at the gambling stone meeting in Yudu, he took all his family's money, borrowed usury, and bought a stone. It's a pity that although the external performance of the original stone is good, the internal quality is too poor. After cutting it, he didn't even have a piece of jade, and his whole wealth disappeared. He still owes a lot of debt. I didn't expect him to come out and rob. Su Sanwang sighed inside. This guy used to be a billionaire. Yi Tian's face also shows the color of surprise. He really has no way to equate the robber with the billionaire. In the past, hundreds of millions of dollars in exchange for blood and sweat, and even a face, turned into nothing in one day, and even became a robber. The risk of a sword in heaven and a sword in hell can be seen, however, it can't be blamed for gambling on jade. It's only blamed for the fact that people don't have the ability to control themselves. They don't know what small gambling is, and big gambling hurts people. What happened? At this moment, the police officers outside the carriage heard the movement and rushed over. When they saw the single-barrel shotgun on the ground, they gasped and said in a deep voice, "This guy tried to rob us, but I accidentally knocked out the bricks." Yi Tian smell speech, on the face immediately peep out the person animal harmless smile, way. The bricks were knocked out. When a group of policemen heard this, they were speechless. The robbers were stunned by the bricks, a symbol of money. They really didn't know whether the robber was lucky or not. Hiss, it's Li Huolian then. When the railway police's eyes fell on Li Huolian's face, they immediately took a cold breath and murmured, "Officer, do you know Li Huolian, too?" Su Sanwang Zhang, surprised looking at the railway police, inquired. How can A-level fugitives who are famous not know each other? The railway policeman nodded with a smile, and then explained, "This guy, in the past 6 months, has often committed crimes on the train line to Yudu, with 4 or 5 lives in his hands. Although we have targeted the target, he has strong anti-reconnaissance ability, and the frontier is vast and sparsely populated. It is too difficult to round him up, so he has not been able to win this guy. By doing so, you have eliminated harm for the people." It turns out that Li Huolian has become an A-level fugitive. Su Sanwang couldn't help taking a breath, and then asked the railway police about Li Huolian. According to the railway police, the reason why Li Huolian is reduced to a recidivist is that he gambles on jade. According to their analysis, this guy came out to rob for the first time in order to pay off those usurious loans he owed. As for the next few times, he went to the underground gambling arena to gamble. Unfortunately, Li Huolian's luck is not very good. He will lose every time he gambles. After losing, he wants to rob and make money, and then turn the tables again, forming a dead circle. A moment later, when the railway police asked about Yi Tian's identity, checked his documents and made a record, they arranged for Yi Tian, Ning Shui and Su Sanwang to go to other carriages. After all, there is a big pool of urine left by the fat man in this carriage. It's fishy and pungent. Who can stand it? Then, the police took Li Huolian to the escort room. Along the way, they told the story to other passengers who were also disturbed, reminding them to pay more attention on the bus. Hearing that there was a robbery in the carriage, the passengers were naturally shocked and sleepless, and looked at Yi Tian with admiration. To be able to arrest an A-level fugitive is absolutely a hero. Only Su Sanwang's face is changeable, but Yi Tian knows that his heart at the moment is afraid of sighing. If it wasn't for Su Sanwang's wife who took his daughter away from him in those years, which made him wake up and completely cut off the idea of gambling on jade. Instead, he chose to distinguish and solve jade for a living. Otherwise, Su Sanwang would be Li Huolian's second. After all, people lose red eye in desperate times, but no matter what, can be a ruthless out. Brother, I didn't expect that you are still a college student. But you are so good at it. You should have practiced it. Right after a long time, Su Sanwang regained his peace. He secretly congratulated himself that he was able to turn back. At the same time, he also looked at Yi Tian and was very surprised. Just when the police verified his identity, he heard that Yi Tian was a college student. It really surprised him. He thought that Yi Tian was just young, but he didn't expect that he was really a college student. And a college student even can fight with a level fugitive like Li Hualian, and throw out so many heavy gold bricks to knock him unconscious. This is absolutely not what idle people can do. It's not bad. I've practiced it. Yi Tian nodded at Will and said with a smile. If you shake a 200 gene thing, you can throw it out. Is that practice? It's true that heroes are young. When Su Sanwang heard this, he was dumbfounded and nodded in admiration. Immediately, he looked at Yi Tian and said, Brother, don't blame me for spoiling your interest. Yudu is a place full of good and bad people. Although you are good at it, you have to be careful. As the saying goes, strong dragon doesn't oppress local leaders. As he said, beauty and gold are the most attractive things at any time. But now, Yi Tian's body, but it is with these two things, will certainly attract a lot of jade, all those people's attention. At that time, I don't know what trouble I'm going to make. Don't worry, brother. I've got your kindness. I've written down this sentence. Yi Tian smell speech, pick eyebrow light smile, light way. However, in his heart, he was not only laughing, he was never afraid of trouble. As for the strong dragon does not pressure the local snake, although it is a common saying, but Yi Tian thinks that the strong dragon cannot pressure the local snake, not that the snake is powerful, but that the dragon is not strong enough. If someone really thinks of him, he doesn't mind showing him what a real dragon is. There was nothing to say all the way, and soon it was the morning of the third day. When the train whistled and stopped, Su Sanwang looked out of the window, and then said to Yi Tian and Ning Shui, Brother Yi, Sister Ning, we are in Yudu. Is this the Jade capital? Yi Tian hears the sound and looks out of the window. As far as he can see, outside the window is a prosperous city, which is in sharp contrast to the desolation along the way. Not only that, he has excellent eyesight, but also he can see from a distance that the signboards of many shops in this city are all related to jade. Yudu can be said to be a city built on jade, and its history can be traced back to the Qin, Han, Spring and Autumn dynasties, and even more distant times. The jade vein has not changed for thousands of years. Generations of Yudu people have lived here and made a living from jade. As for us Chinese, our love for jade has never changed since the Stone Age. Seeing Yi Tian's expression, Su Sanwang told him with a smile the long and incomparable historical origin of Yudu. Yi Tian, listening to these words, also sighs with emotion. Every place can be traced back to thousands of years ago, and culture is like a jade vein, which is the charm of Chinese culture. It's a long time for practitioners to spend thousands of years. As far as Yi Tian knows, even in the cultivation world like Fangsu and Lingyu, it's rare for them to inherit the history for thousands of years. Perhaps, because of these, even though he has been practicing Taoism in Fangsu and Lingyu for 200 years and only lived on the earth for 20 years, he still thinks that this is his hometown. Yudu is here. Please get off as soon as possible. At this time, along the outside, came the sound of the crew calling passengers to get off. At last I can get out and breathe. Yi Tian heard this, stretched a big stretch, smilingly looked at Ning Shui, then took the bag, walked toward the box. The train trip of these 2 days and nights really choked him. He could only walk around such a big place as the carriage and aisle. It was really uncomfortable. If he didn't worry about being too shocking, he wanted to open the window and go out to the Imperial Sword for a while to get some air. Ning Shui reluctantly looked at the box, trying to keep everything here in mind. This short 2 days and 2 nights is the longest time for her and Yi Tian to be together, and Yi Tian's care for her in the car makes her unforgettable. If it is possible, she really hopes that the bus can never end, keep going all the way, and keep going at such a high speed. Although the heart sighs repeatedly, but rather snow or follow Yi Tian, walk off the train, go outside. Master. Just out of the railway station, a young man jumped up and waved to Su Sanwang. What's the matter? Such a rash. Su Sanwang, embarrassed, smiles at Yi Tian, then looks at his apprentice and asks. Master, you don't know. The people who asked you to explain jade and identify jade recently almost broke the threshold of our workshop and piled up gifts. Please go back and have a look. Hearing this, the young man looked at Su Sanwang excitedly and said. So busy? Su Sanwang was stunned and looked at the young man in surprise. Although every time you held a jade gambling meeting, his business was very hot, but it was not as amazing as his apprentice said. You don't know, the Liu family has made great efforts this year. They have brought out a batch of raw stones that are said to have been handed down from the Ming dynasty. They are good-looking and frightening. Many of their performances are of the level of Lanji jade. The Jade Emperor is not willing to be outdone. From his Laoqing jade mine, they have brought out a batch of raw stones pressing the bottom of the box, which are also of the level of Hatian jade under some stones you were not here these 2 days. I don't know the expression of those jade dealers. They are going crazy. They are looking forward to the beginning of the Jade Gambling Conference. The young man said eagerly, and then jumped with excitement. You know, among the beautiful jade in Yudu, the one with the highest quality is commonly known as Lanji jade, which is as delicate as lamb's white fat. There is no flaw in it, and its tentacles are warm. In ancient times, there was even a saying of the essence of white jade. There were original stones of Lanji jade. In the past, there were more than 4 or 5 pieces at the Jade Gambling Conference in Yudu. Now, there are so many of them, how can we not let them? The jade merchants are crazy about it. Emperor Yu and Lu's family are planning to fight in the arena. When Yi Tian heard this, he raised his eyebrows slightly and immediately judged that Emperor Yu and the Lu family might not have torn their faces in the open, but in private, they might have been fighting each other to death. Otherwise, they won't do it and put all the details on the table. You know, the high price of jade is largely due to its rarity. If we say that a large number of raw stones of lanolin jade are put into the market, even if we gamble on jade, we will lose 9 times, but the winner will still get a lot of lanolin jade, which will impact the market price, make it fall, and have a huge impact on their own industries, who would be willing to use this kind of action to kill the enemy for 1,000 and to lose 800. Master, I told those people that when you come back today, they are waiting in the workshop now. If you don't go again, I think they will tear me alive. At this time, the young man looked forward to Su Sanwang. Good. Su Sanwang shook his head, followed closely, turned his head and looked at Yi Tian, clasped his hands and said, Brother Yi, then I'll go first, let's call. If you really want to gamble on jade, call me and I'll help you. Well, thank you very much, Brother Su. You go ahead and we have to find a place to stay. Yi Tian nodded to Su Sanwang with a smile, and then watched the 2 apprentices get on the car and drive away. Let's also find a hotel to stay first. If we come, we'll settle down. Don't worry about jade. I'll find a way. Closely following, Leaf Day turns ahead toward Rather Snow to smile, Way. Well. Ning Shui smiles and nods. From the moment Yi Tian appeared around, she didn't worry anymore. She knew that the man around her had a kind of power that could transform decay into magic. No matter what trouble it was, it could be easily solved in his hands. A moment later, they stopped a taxi and came to a hotel nearest to the Jade Gambling meeting. To be exact, the Jade Gambling meeting will be held in the Jade Exhibition Hall on the 1st floor of the hotel. Only 1 room left? However, what Yi Tian didn't expect is that the popularity of the Jade Gambling Conference is beyond imagination. The hotel room has been reserved only 1 room, and there is only 1 big bedroom left. But he and Ning Shui are 2 people. 2 people, squeeze a room, pour not calculate what, but always can't, 2 people squeeze a bed? I suggest you book this one as soon as possible. Otherwise, you may not even have this one later. Moreover, the rooms in the hotels around you should be almost all reserved. There are too many jade dealers and guests who come to the Jade Gambling meeting, almost 2 or 3 times as many as before. Just when Yi Tian was going to change a hotel, the front desk lady said with a smile. Not only that, the frontier girl is more bold. Looking at the hesitation on Yi Tian's face, after looking at Ning Shui beside him, she joked to Yi Tian, Other girls don't worry about anything, you are a big man, what are you afraid of? Are you still worried that this sister will eat you? A language falls, a face of rather snow, immediately bilge red almost drop bleeding. Okay, I'll take it. Tian can't laugh or cry, but he thinks that Ning Shui doesn't say anything. If he shirks it, it gives people the feeling that there is a ghost in his heart. It seems that Ning Shui is really plotting something about him, so he takes out his bank card and swipes it to book a room. But, in his heart, at the moment, he was really a little uneasy. A room, 2 people, a bed, this is not better than on the train, 1 is not good, God knows what will happen. I sleep on the sofa at night, you sleep on the bed, so happy decision. Holding the room card, after coming to the room, Tian swept around the room, then looked at Ning Shui and said with a smile. Well. Rather snow thought of evening to want to coexist with leaf day a room, chow cheek tiny red, bashful nod. For a moment, the room was quiet, and the atmosphere was a little strange. The front desk staff just said that the Jade Gambling Conference was held in the exhibition center on the 1st floor of their building. Let's go and have a look at how lively the Jade Gambling Conference is. Tian see the atmosphere embarrassed, quickly diverge from the topic, to rather snow smile. Well. Ning Shui also feels that the atmosphere in the room is very strange. She wants to go out for air, so she nods and goes out with Tian to the exhibition center on the 1st floor of the hotel. The elevator went straight, and soon they came to the exhibition center on the 1st floor. At this moment, the convention and exhibition center, which used to be the size of a football field, is full of sheds made of all kinds of plastic steel. Moreover, although it's only early in the morning, the exhibition hall is crowded with people. Not only that, the passers-by who come and go are also very particular about their clothes. Obviously, they should be jade merchants from all over the world who come here to participate in the jade gambling meeting. Of course, in addition to people, the exhibition center is filled with all kinds of stones. Some of the stones are yellow, some are black and white, and others are as colorful as oil paintings. Not only that, there are many fine patterns on the surface of these stones, most of which are light cyan flocculent, while few are white. These are the original jade. Tian once participated in a similar gambling meeting in the South China Sea, so he introduced it to Ning Shui. It turned out that the jade looked like this before it came out. Ning Shui's understanding of jade used to be limited to those in jade shops, either green or snow white products, but she didn't expect that the jade would grow like this before it was released. However, it's no wonder that the Chinese people always have a passion for jade, and even compare it to a gentleman. Jade is ugly before it's released, but after it's released, it's amazing. It's not in line with the old saying that the sea can't be measured, and people can't be judged by appearance. It's just like a person who doesn't know whether he is pure or dross under his handsome or ugly appearance before he understands it carefully. Handsome and beautiful, are you here for the jade gambling meeting? Do you want to buy 2 pieces to practice before the jade gambling meeting starts? All of my jade mines here are top-notch looking jade mines. They are of first-class quality, especially these pieces. You can see that they have been polished out of the skylight. The sapphire, the flock, the waterhead, the first-class good things. Just when Tian takes Ning Shui and walks around the original stone, a chubby stall owner comes over and looks at Tian and Ning Shui, grinning and greeting. As soon as Tianshuan could see, he saw that some of the original stones on his stall had been wiped off by machines, revealing the internal condition of the original stone. It really looked like the skylight on the roof. What's more, as the boss said, the skylight polished by this stone is light green, smooth and full of white jade wadding. It looks like it is of excellent quality and belongs to the first-class stone. Boss, how can I sell this stone? Ning Shui stares at the original stone, pats it, and asks the fat boss with a smile. This beautiful woman is not only beautiful, but also has a first-class vision. What you see in this stone is blue jade floating out of the skylight. Under normal circumstances, the more you go in, the lighter the color is. You can't point to it. It's white jade with suede. So, the price is 500,000. The fat boss gives Ning Shui a thumbs up and praises her. Then he says, "Beauty, you have such a good eye, you are so beautiful, and your luck must be first class. Don't look at it expensive. Once you untie it, you will make a lot of money. Since you are so confident, boss, why don't you break this stone and make a lot of money?" Ning Shui heard this and said with a laugh, "Beauty, you don't know. We have rules in our business. We only sell raw stones, don't gamble on jade, and can't compete with customers for profits. Fat obviously often encounter such ridicule, eyes do not blink of smile and chant. In addition, solo music is not as good as all music, money must be everyone together to earn it. Yi Tian, what do you think? Ning Shui is also amused by the fat boss's words, and then looks at Yi Tian and asks with a smile. 500000 is not a small number, but it is nothing for her and Yi Tian. It's not impossible to play a little. My friend, the beauty has spoken. Don't you show your charm as soon as possible? I've heard that many girls think that boys are the most handsome when they say pay fat bossa. Listen to rather snow this words, also immediately realize, Leaf Genius is the main son, immediately to Leaf Day smile chant of the way. Don't worry, let me have a look first. Hearing this, Yi Tian smiles and walks to the original stone, patting it with his hand. Looking at his action, although the fat boss didn't say anything, his smile became stronger. Yi Tian's hand let him completely confirm that Yi Tian and Ning Shui are two rookies who don't know anything about gambling stones. Otherwise, if you want to have a look, you must be on with a magnifying glass and a flashlight. How can you shoot on the stone like this? Is it difficult? He thought, is it the same as watermelon to choose the stone? The stone, haha. At this time, Yi Tian was the source of heaven's eye, shining through the jade. As far as he could see, he immediately saw that except for a blue and white floating jade with 2 fingers thick in the skylight area, all of the original stones were milk-white quartz crystals with little value. More importantly, he also found that there were some gaps between the skylight of blue and white floating jade and the original stone itself. It seemed that the two were not a hole at all, but were inserted into it. Obviously, this stone is not only a piece of waste, but also a product of fraud. It seems that the water in the jade shop of Yudu is really a bit unfathomable. Yi Tian looks at this scene and curses in his heart. If he doesn't have Yuan Tianian, he can follow the secret here. If ordinary people come to gamble on jade, maybe he will be fooled by the fat boss. He will throw 500,000 yuan, but he will buy a piece of fake waste. At that time, he will have no place to cry. It seems that there are a lot of so-called one-knife hell. It is not natural power, but human power. How's it going, man? I'll tell you, it's only 500,000. You can't lose it. The fat boss looks at the appearance of the Leaf Day, continuously loudly encourage away. If you lose money, are you responsible? Yi Tian raises eyebrow a smile, looking at fat boss to play taste. Brother, you see what you say. In the business of gambling on jade, you pay attention to buying and leaving. When it comes to you, it's yours. It's none of my business to bet on. If I lose money, I have to bet on it. Are you willing to share my money? The fat boss said with a dry smile as soon as he heard this. I'm not interested in your stones. Let's go. And I advise you to say that before you do business, you should first weigh your conscience. If you have no conscience, you will not be a complete person. Yi Tian doesn't want to spend much time with this kind of deceitful person. He winks at Ning Shui and turns to leave immediately. Cut, don't have money to come out to pretend what big tail wolf, pull a follow a 258 in case, can't afford is can't afford, what don't interest, I bah. Fat bossa listened to this words, curl a mouth, toward the ground spat a mouth, disdain of mutterway. What are you talking about? Yi Tian's ear power he chi sharp, far then caught the words of the other party, turned to look at the fat boss, cold way. Just now, he just wanted to teach each other a lesson in words, hoping that he would get lost and know how to return, so that he would not be able to get along in the circle of Yudu in the future. He didn't even have a place to eat, and he didn't have any other plans. Unexpectedly, he was shameless. Haha, don't you hear them all? Why do you ask me? The fat boss is very arrogant. When he heard Yi Tian's words, he didn't even quibble. Instead, he looked at him and scoffed. It seems that you are really shameless. Yi Tian hears the sound, stares at the fat boss, sweeps a few eyes up and down, the corner of his mouth draws up a touch of radian. He found out that there is always a kind of person in this world. You treat him with kindness, and he thinks you are weak. He will be honest only when he has a big ear scrape. Yi Tian is angry. And it's a very serious anger. When Ning Shui sees the smile on Yi Tian's face, she is immediately shocked. She has been in contact with Yi Tian for a long time. She knows that in this situation, the brighter the smile on Yi Tian's face is, the deeper his anger is. This fat boss is absolutely unlucky. Just she doesn't know, what is Yi Tian for? She is so angry. Boy, what are you talking about? I can't afford to buy stones. What's the matter with me? What did I say wrong? I think you don't want to have a face. I don't want to open your eyes and see where it is. Do you want to make trouble on our Lu family's territory? Fat boss is very rampant. Hear Yi Tian's words, immediately jump foot denounce, but also hand pointing to his stall signboard, loud way. It turns out that the goods are from the Lu family. It seems that the Lu family is really not a good one. They used this method to entrap people. Hearing this, Yi Tian takes a look at the direction of the fat boss's finger and immediately sees that on the sign behind him, there is a sign with the character Lu wrapped around a golden dragon. Since you don't want to have a face, don't blame me for not giving you a face. Yi Tian glanced at him, sneered and said fatally, when he was ready to go forward and expose the fraud of the goods, he was ruined in this meeting place. Haha, don't you give me face? Come and have a try. Fat boss didn't know that disaster was coming, he was still arrogant and yelled at Yi Tian. Come on, little brother, don't be the same as him. Otherwise, offending the Lu family will only make you feel bad. Yes, I can stand the calm wind and the calm waves for a while, and take a step back. Although the Lu family is low-key, we can't afford it. I heard that the Lu family kept a low profile, but in fact they were the most vengeful. Some people said that in Yudu, they would rather provoke the Emperor Yu than the Lu family, because the Emperor Yu was still a reasonable person. If he was wrong, he would admit it. But the Lu family, even if they were wrong, should say it was your fault. Looking at his appearance, those jade merchants around who have also heard the whole story, though they are angry, still persuade Yi Tian. Boy, do you hear them? If you don't want to be ugly later, get out of here. Fat boss heard around these people's words, is more and more arrogant, pointing to Yi Tian, shouting more than. Lu Panzi, what's the matter? But just when Yi Tian's eyes were cold and he wanted to go forward and expose the tricks of the goods, a cold voice came from behind the crowd. Following, the crowd separated, and a dignified, well-dressed young man strode out. Feng Xiao, this pair of dogs and men are too rubbish. In my stall, I've been asking about things for a long time, but I don't buy anything. When I mumble a few words, he's not happy. He says that we should not give face to the Lu family. Although the fat boss was fierce in front of the crowd, he could see the young man, but he was respectful, smiling and nodding. The eldest son of the Lu family, Lu Feng. It is said that Lu Feng will soon inherit the family business of the Lu family. At a young age, he will start a family that has lasted for hundreds of years. It's really powerful. It has not been said for a long time that Lu Feng should be married when he is married. It's not only Lu Panzi, but also the jade merchants around who come to buy jade. When they see Lu Feng, they look respectful. Many people even mutter and want to make friends with Lu Feng. There are people who want to be in Yudu and not give face to our Lu family. I want to see how they plan to do it. At this time, Lu Feng, after listening to Lu Fatty's words, sneer, immediately to the position of Yi Tian and Ning Shui, but when his eyes fell on Ning Shui's face, immediately appeared the color of surprise. Dare not set channel. Ning Shui, how are you? Ning Shui knows Lu Feng? Leaf Day hears a sound, not from some surprise to rather Snow saw an eye. Ning Shui has never said before that she knows the Lu family in Yudu, and she is also the eldest son of Lu Feng, who is likely to be in charge of the Lu family in the near future. Feng Xiao, do you know her? On hearing this, Lu Pengzi couldn't help looking silly and said in a hurry. Shui, I'm really sorry. I have too many people under my command. I can't see their character one by one, which makes you feel aggrieved. But you can rest assured that I will get justice for you today and let you have a bad breath. At this time, Lu Feng first looked at Ning Shui and said something with a smile, then his face was cold. Looking at Lu Fatty, he said coldly, kneel down and apologize to Miss Ning, then slap yourself in the face until she is satisfied. Ah! Lu Panzi was stunned and looked at Lu Feng in disbelief. Why, are you going to disobey me? Lu Feng sees this, looking at Lu Pengzi to smile indifferently, light Wei. Miss Ning, I'm sorry. I'm wrong. You're so big. Please forgive me. Lu Pengzi seems to be extremely afraid of Lu Feng. As soon as he hears this, he immediately shakes his head. Then he kneels to the ground with a puff sound, and raises his hand. While pumping wildly towards his cheek, he prays to Ning Shui. Lu Feng looks at this scene, his face is full of proud smile, pondering toward Yi Tian standing beside Ning Shui, his eyes are full of ridicule. The vision, as if to say, you can't do things, I easily do, what qualifications do you have, standing in the snowside? Yi Tian, I'm sorry, this Lu Feng is my college classmate. I know he's from the Lu family, but I don't want to see him, so I didn't tell you about it. However, what Lu Feng didn't expect is that Ning Shui directly ignores him and Lu Pengzi. Instead, she looks at Yi Tian apologetically and says slowly. Ning Shui apologizes to this guy because of me. Lu Feng heard Ning Shui's words, the whole person is dull, deep in the eye, there is anger tang to burn up. He thought that when Ning Shui saw her words, she let the arrogant Lu fat man kneel down on the ground. He thought that Yi Tian was useless. But he never thought that Ning Shui didn't think so. Instead, she apologized for not saying anything to Yi Tian. It doesn't matter. Who in the world can have two annoying people who don't want to see or mention? Yi Tian smiles and shakes his head, calms down. He knows that Ning Shui doesn't want to talk about Lu Feng. There must be her own reason. There's no need to criticize her. What did you just say? Lu Feng is full of fire. At the moment, when he hears Yi Tian's words, he bursts out completely. Looking at Yi Tian, he is not happy. To borrow a sentence from your man, you have already heard it. Why do you ask me? Yi Tian raises eyebrow a smile, while Lu Pengzi's words, intact, return to Lu Feng. I don't know what to do with you. As soon as he heard it, a layer of frost color appeared on Lu Feng's whole face. After a cold glance at Yi Tianxia, his eyes changed and he said coldly, it seems that you have a lot of fire in your stomach. Since we are all in the Jade capital and are still gambling on Jade, how about following the rules of gambling on Jade? What rules? Yi Tian's eyebrows are gently raised, playing with the taste. It's easy. Anything, I'll see the real chapter on the Jade gambling field. Lu Feng indifferent smile, light Wei. Anything, see the real chapter on the Jade gambling field. The rules of the Jade capital are really related to Jade. Hearing this, Yi Tian raised his eyebrows and laughed, then said faintly, if you want to play, I'll play with you. However, I'm a mental cleanliness addict, and I don't like to use the rubbish made by my conscience. Rubbish? What do you mean? Lu Feng heard Yi Tian's words, his eyes were awe-inspiring, and he angrily scolded. What do I mean? If others don't know, can you not know yourself? The Leaf Day hears speech, a smile indifferently, light Wei. Taking advantage of his kung fu just now, he has opened his eyes to the sky. He takes a look at the jade raw stones in Lu Pengzi's stall. As far as he can see, he finds that there are nearly 70% of the raw stones here, which are made by counterfeiting. Although the surface performance is very good, the skylight has sapphire, topaz and suede white jade, but inside, it is a mess. There are several pieces of variegated jade, which can be regarded as burning high incense. This appearance is shocking to the extreme. He can't imagine what would happen if these stones were bought by those who want to get rich overnight and wait for them. I'm afraid that at that time, what these people will face will be Su Sanwang's family broken down and his wife and children separated. Even, many people, like Li Hualien, may take risks and do some desperate things because of their heavy debts. Although there are risks in gambling on jade, it is hard to predict whether it will win or lose. But the Lu family's action is just like adding fuel to the fire, making this kind of gamble, which is already hopeless, even more hopeless. I don't understand what you mean by that. Lu Feng looked at Yi Tian's eyes, silent for a long time, word by word, cold voice. You don't understand? Why don't you ask the fat man, he may know the twists and turns better than you. The Leaf Day raises eyebrow a smile, the facial expression comes of light Wei. Does this guy really find something? But these means, even those guys who often hang out in the jade gambling field can't see. How does he know these secrets when he is such an age, and he is obviously a stranger? Looking at Yi Tian's expression, Lu Feng felt a little uneasy in his heart, and his eyebrows became a knot in one's heart. Ning Shui looks at Yi Tian confused, don't understand, what does Yi Tian mean, but she feels, Yi Tian should have found a very serious thing. Boy, I'll tell you, I'm sorry. It's because of the face of our family, not because of you. Don't talk nonsense here. I don't think you can afford our stones. That's why you talk nonsense here on purpose. When Lu Pingzi hears this, he turns his head and looks at Yi Tian. He drinks angrily. It seems that you are really shameless. You have to slap your face to admit it. When Yi Tian heard Lu Pingzi's words, a flash of anger flashed from his eyes. After staring at Lu Feng and Lu Pingzi with two sneers, he said faintly, in this case, I'll let you die in the Yellow River. With these words, Yi Tian strode toward the stall and went straight to the original jade with the skylight opened. Facts speak louder than words. Since these guys want to play and pretend to be confused, let them die completely. Boy, what do you want to do? I tell you, don't try to destroy the original stone of our house. The security guard, blow this disorderly guy out of my house. Lu Pingzi saw Yi Tian's action, his heart thumped, immediately turned to block the front of the jade, opened his arms, and said in a loud voice. Get out of here. However, it's a pity that although Lu Pingzi weighs more than 200 jin, when he comes to Yi Tian, he can't count anything at all. His arm is just slightly raised. Lu Pingzi's huge body immediately flies upside down like a broken kite and falls to the ground heavily. Hiss. This guy, what a strength, a fat man of more than 200 jin can fly easily. How strong is that? I'll go. This young man is a martial arts expert. He's so big and fat. He's as light as a piece of paper. He's been plucked away. The appearance of this scene, to see those jade merchants gathered to watch the excitement, one by one stunned, air-conditioned repeatedly, his face cannot believe. This guy is so strong. Even Lu Feng, but also slightly out of the corner of the eye, but what worries him more is Yi Tian's next action. No, he really saw it. When he saw that Yi Tian's hand had already touched the original jade, Lu Feng immediately let out a thump in his heart. But when he saw that Yi Tian was clawed with 5 fingers towards the skylight, his heart immediately fell to the ground with a calm smile. You know, the jade filled in the skylight is not only right, but also in the bonding position, it uses the mineral glue developed by Lu's family. After sticking it on, not only can't be found, but also the jade in the skylight is integrated with the whole jade. Even if Yi Tianning slapped a fat man of more than 200 jin, he didn't believe that Yi Tianning took down the jade from the skylight so lightly. Glue on. At this time, when Yi Tian's hand fell on the jade at the skylight and gently pinched it, he found that it didn't move. After seeing Lu Feng's calm smile, he immediately understood the truth. I am this way, do you want me to be helpless? When Yi Tian saw this, a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. He followed closely. With the help of fire burning, his magic power turned into an invisible flame, immediately penetrated the jade and burned to the junction. Although these mineral gums are very strong, they are only glued, not real stones. Fire burning, just 3 turn 2 turn, those originally very strong connection, in an instant, then split. Click. Immediately after that, Yi Tian's hands made a little effort, gently pulled the jade down from the skylight, and then bang and dropped it on the ground. That empty appearance, as if the skylight really opened. This. What's the matter? Shouldn't the jade at the skylight be integrated with the original stone? How can someone pick it off? It shouldn't be like this. The jade and the original stone are integrated. How can they be removed from the original stone now? The clear sound, though not loud, could be heard by those jade merchants around, but it was like 9 days of thunder, terrifying shock. Fake. Then, almost at the same time, 2 big words appeared in everyone's mind. Apart from this possibility, they really can't think of any other reason that will lead to this situation at this moment. However, this is the jade shop of the Lu family, and the Lu family has been in the jade capital for hundreds of years. How can they do such shameless things? I really found out. Not only these people, Lu Feng at this moment, also feel that his head is like a rolling thunder in shock, staring at the piece of jade still rolling on the ground. He was very clear that this scene in front of him would bring so much evil. Who do gamblers hate most in casinos? It's not the makers, but the thousands. Similarly, on the jade gambling field, who do jade merchants hate most? It's also the jade miners who cheat and use the means of fraud to replace inferior ones with good ones. There is no doubt that all this will become a great crisis for the Lu family. Feng Xiao, why don't you explain to me? Why can the jade in the skylight of your house be cut off? Tell me, such a weak stone is not rubbish. What is it? At this time, Tian looked at Lu Feng, word by word, coldly. Yes, let's be clear. What's going on? Why does the jade on the skylight fall off by itself? I ordered 6 million goods at your house. If you don't make it clear today, I'll return them immediately. Grass, I said, why do I always break down? Originally, you give us this hand? Do you really think we are fat sheep? Almost at the same time when Tian's words fell, the jade merchants around him all came around, looking fierce and staring at Lu Feng fiercely. That appearance, as if, Lu Feng as long as a word is wrong, will tear him to pieces. Aye. Lu Feng's eyes twinkled, and he thought about the explanation in his heart. But when the words came to his mouth, he finally gritted his teeth and said, I don't know. It's an accident. Accident? When Tian heard the speech, he raised his eyebrow and laughed. He turned around and walked to a fake jade. His hand seemed to be inadvertently patting on the stone. This was better. The fake skylight jade, like a ball, came out of it. Pop click. What makes everyone's eyes even more dull is that after Tian took this piece of jade, he kept on walking and patted it every once in a while. What makes people speechless is that following his action, it's almost like a trick. Those skylight jade flew out of the stone one after another and fell to the ground. For a moment, the ground was full of the crisp sound of falling jade. Such a voice, in peacetime, should be a joyful voice, but at this moment, every sound sounds, it makes people's anger increase a point. This. Lu Feng looked at this scene, the whole face at this moment, almost green. However, he really can't understand that the mineral blue prepared according to the unique formula, even if it's smashed down with a hammer, will not split a cent. Now, how one by one, just like useless waste, is slapped out of the original stone by Tian. While sitting on the ground, Lu Pengzi, who was crying for his father and mother, was also stupid and dull. He knew that now, the trouble was really big. Lu Feng, what the hell is going on? Is that what you Lu family used to play with us? Chow, I ordered the original stones in your house and returned them all. From now on, you don't want to earn any more money from me. Give back the original stone money I bought when you gambled on jade. Otherwise, I will break your 3 legs today. Almost at the same time, those jade dealers, as well as those who gambled on jade, were completely out of anger. They surrounded Lu Feng with covetous eyes, gnashing their teeth and roaring. Especially those who gambled on jade, in the depths of their eyes, they all came out to kill. What's gambling on jade? It's the unknown under the original stone shell. What's the purpose of cleaning the skylight? It's to increase the odds of gambling. In the same way, the price of the stone with good performance will rise with the tide. But now, according to what they see, the Lu family is actually using jade to plug in the skylight to make a false skylight to raise the price of the original stone. How can this method not make them angry, especially those who once spent a high price and failed to gamble on jade? Lu Pengzi, what the hell is going on? Lu Feng looked at the crowd surrounded by Wu Yang. At this moment, he completely forgot to keep his demeanor in front of Ning Shui. Instead, he squeezed out of the crowd and rushed to Lu Pengzi. He could not help but tell him. After kicking him, he yelled coldly. I don't know. Lu Pengzi excited Lingling to shiver and said in a trembling voice. I don't know. Hearing this, Lu Feng stared at Lu Pengzi and said coldly, Tell me honestly, what we give you are all excellent stones. How can it be like this when we get here? Are you cheating by selling these excellent raw stones and shoddy them? How long have you been doing this, the first time or many times? At the same time, Lu Feng is constantly winking at Lu Pengzi, indicating that he should recite the big black pot first. Lu Feng is going to let Lu Pengzi carry the black pot, and then wash himself and the Lu family clean. And this is the first time, or the last time, but also in the stop-loss cell when Tian heard Lu Feng's words, he immediately understood his meaning, and his face immediately showed a strong sneer. I Feng Xiao, I was bewildered by lard for a while. You and my family gave me good raw stones. In order to make more money, I sold those raw stones in private and made fake products. This is the first time I've done this. I've never thought about it before. Feng Xiao, please, believe me, I'm wrong. I really know I'm wrong. Please, forgive me. When Lu Pengzi saw Lu Feng's eyes, he could not understand what he meant. He also understood that if he did not help Lu Feng carry the black pot, the whole Lu family would be implicated. At that time, he would still have to buckle the excrement basin on his head. It would be better to admit now that the Lu family would give him some benefits. Immediately, he clenched his teeth, closed his eyes and cried cavity. According to Lu Feng's view, the black pot all buckled to himself, the Lu Feng and Lu Clean. Not only that, he also echoed Lu Feng's statement, deliberately saying that this was the first time to do so as to make the previous thing irrefutable, so that those jade suppliers and jade gamblers would suffer a dumb loss, and they could only hold their noses to admit it. You brute, my Lu family did not treat you badly. You should treat us like this. Lu Feng heard Lu Pengzi's words, and then he let out a sigh of relief. He raised his foot and kicked Lu Pengzi hard. Then he turned and looked at the jade merchants and gamblers, with a sincere face, and clasped his fists and arched his hands and said, You guys, the truth is clear, this matter, my Lu family is also a victim. You can rest assured that we will punish Lu Pengzi severely. However, as you have heard, this is the first time that he has done so, and it has not caused any serious consequences. A group of jade merchants and gamblers, hearing Lu Feng's shameless words to the extreme, their noses were almost crooked. It's the first time that you've been caught. Who knows if you've done something similar before? But what makes them helpless is that the original stones they bought from the Lu family in the past have been untied, and there is no evidence at all. There is really no evidence to prove it. They can only have Lu Feng to make up any nonsense, and they can't say anything. You say the first time is the first time. Why should we believe you? If something happens, it's the first time. If nothing happens, it's 10,000 times. You Lu family have been doing business for hundreds of years, but you have not accumulated so much experience, have you? Yi Tian raised his eyebrow a smile, looking at Lu Feng, full-faced scornful mockery way. Yes, it's the first time you've been caught. If you haven't been caught, is it really 10,000 times? You must give us a clear explanation of today's affairs, otherwise, don't blame me for being rude to you. Refund. If you don't refund the money, don't think it's all over. You sell fake and shoddy things. Have you fed the dog with your Lu family's conscience? Jade merchants and gamblers were furious and blocked up Lu Feng's surroundings. They yelled at each word to get justice for themselves. The Lu family has stepped on everyone's bottom line in doing these things. They have to find a way for themselves. I don't know what's going on here. If you really want an explanation, please call the police and let them give you an explanation. Lu Feng is sure that these people will die without proof, and Lu Pengzi is willing to carry the pot. His heart hangs down and looks at those people with a light sentence. Then he is ready to leave. The son of gold does not sit down. He knows that the best solution is to leave now. Forget it. Is your idea too simple? Yi Tian hears the sound and dodges in front of Lu Feng, looking at his eyes and playing with the taste. What do you want? Lu Feng looks at Yi Tian indifferently. After a cold voice, he turns to Ning Shui. His words show a strong sense of threat, and he says, Shui, for the sake of knowing each other, please advise your friend to speak more because he is strong. Don't give yourself some unnecessary trouble just because he thinks he has a little ability. The frontier is too big. If you dig a hole and bury someone in it, no one will find it even after hundreds of years. The frontier is too big, dig a hole to bury a person, even after hundreds of years, no one will find it. Lu Feng's words, the tone is calm, but the deep meaning of the words, but let people have a deep shudder. Even after hearing this, Ning Shui can't help shivering. She has a kind of intuition. I'm afraid that Lu Feng's words are not just words. He may have done such things himself or seen the Lu family do such things. Otherwise, the chill in the words will not be so heavy. Why, it seems that you are going to dig a hole in the frontier and bury me? However, I'm afraid it's really unknown whether it's me or you Lu family who will be buried at that time. Yi Tian hears this, the vision follows a cold, immediately, the corner of the mouth smile is bright, Wei. Yi Tian, also moved to kill heart. Lu Feng, it's over, Lu family, it's over. Ning Shui sees the smile on Yi Tian's face, and immediately understands that Yi Tian is really angry at this moment, which is more than several times brighter than Lu Pengzi's smile. This means that Yi Tian's dissatisfaction with Lu Feng has reached the stage of explosion. She has never seen a person who can still have full beard and full tail after making Yi Tian unhappy. Lu Feng, and the Lu family behind him, may be extraordinary, but the end will be very miserable. Schwer, you'd better persuade your companion, otherwise, I'm afraid he won't have time to regret it. Lu Feng completely ignores Yi Tian's threats. He looks at Ning Shui and smiles indifferently. He continues to threaten Yi Tian coldly. Lu Feng, I think you'd better do what he says. It's good for you and the Lu family. But it's a pity that Ning Shui has sensed Yi Tian's disgust for the Lu family at the moment, not to mention that she has no favor for Lu Feng. At the moment, it's impossible for her to fulfill his wish. Lu Feng heard Ning Shui words, not from a Zhang, surprised to see Ning Shui one eye. In his impression, although Ning Shui is a very stubborn and kind girl, she doesn't know the world. What's the matter? It's incredible that he should help Yi Tian to speak now. Good since you say so, I'll see how capable you are. Although he was surprised, all this made Lu Feng even more angry. Looking at Yi Tian, his eyes changed after a sneer. He suddenly showed a playful smile and turned away from the topic, saying, It seems that there is still a bet on jade between us, doesn't it? How? Yi Tian eyebrows a yang, looking at Lu Feng, light way. What happens in Yudu is to follow the rules of Yudu. You don't like me, and I don't like you. It's a good solution. Let's gamble on Yudu. If I win, you can stay cool and don't get in my way. Lu Feng is arrogant and cold. Now he has seen that all these contradictions are due to Yi Tian. Without Yi Tian, he can easily clean up these jade merchants and gamblers. At least, he can easily leave the exhibition center. He doesn't have to be blocked by Yi Tian and can't leave. What if you lose? Yi Tian smiles indifferently and says coldly. It's very simple. If I lose, I'll let you go. Lu Feng said calmly. He knows that he is definitely not Yi Tian's opponent in terms of kung fu, but if he gambles on jade according to the rules of Yudu, it may not be so. He was born in the Lu family. He grew up in a pile of jade, watching others gamble on jade. What kind of jade is in the shell, and the trend of that kind of jade wadding is better. All these things have been engraved in his bones. Even if Yi Tiangang can see that those skylights are fake, he seems to have some insight, but he doesn't believe that when it comes to gambling on jade, the other side can be better than himself. My condition is very simple. I admit to them that you Lu family did all this on purpose. Besides, you changed your name to her. You are not worthy to call her Schwerer. After Yi Tianchao glanced at Lu Feng, he indifferently offered his own conditions. Lu Feng is so filthy that he shouts Schwer from his mouth, which makes Yi Tian feel disgusted. Well, it's a deal, but you have to remember that the rules of Yudu are always willing to gamble and admit defeat. There's no precedent of refusing to admit defeat after losing. When Lu Feng heard this, he nodded with a cold smile and said, Let's start. One person selects 3 pieces of raw stones, the total price of which is less than 1 million, and then judges the winner or loser by the total value of the solved jade. After a word, he immediately turned around and walked down to Lu Pengzi's stall. His eyes kept scanning the stones to find the best one. This old man, you shouldn't promise to gamble with him on jade. After hundreds of years of inheritance in Yudu, the monkey cubs in the family have already practiced their eyes and gambled with them on jade. Isn't it that they can't find pleasure for themselves? Yes, the Lu family gambles on stones, which is different from the Jade Emperor. It doesn't depend on luck, but on skills. I've never heard of anyone who gambles on jade to win the Lu family. Brother, you've been caught in his trap this time. Oh, but it's nothing. Although the Lu family is low-key, they are actually big businesses. Even if we hold on to him, things will still be suppressed in the end. Even if they do things like that 10,000 times, they will be said to be the first time. It's meaningless. As soon as Lu Feng turns around, the jade merchants and gamblers around him look at Yi Tian and shake their heads and sigh. The golden eye? Is it so evil? But you may not know, my brother, I also have a nickname, which is called Bagua Stove. I'm the one who makes the eyes of Lashizi. Yi Tian listens to this one, raises eyebrow to calm a smile, then the head also does not return to walk toward the booth. Bagua Stove? What's the name? I haven't heard of it. Yes, I've been gambling on jade in Yudu for some years. I've never heard of such a jade gambling expert in any place. When the crowd heard Yi Tian's words, they couldn't help feeling confused. At the same time, they looked at Yi Tian's back, which was full of uneasiness and uneasiness. In the field of gambling on jade, the depth of water is incomparable. Besides luck, the reason why we lose 9 out of 10 bets has a lot to do with choosing the original stone. For example, the probability of producing jade in the old pit is more stable than that in the new pit. A small-looking grain of jade wadding is actually related to what is hidden in a piece of raw stone, whether it is jade or something else. All this requires a lot of experience and long-term contact with the original stone. In Yudu, it is the Lu family who has mastered these skills the most. After all, hundreds of years of family inheritance can't be compared with other families. Although the Jade Emperor is in the limelight now, it's only a matter of 10 or 20 years. Where is the deep inheritance of these hundreds of years? Before the Jade Emperor appeared, the Lu family was already on the boundary of the Jade capital. At this time, Yi Tian is already wandering in the field. Yuan Tian's eyes scan and shine through a pile of stones in the field. Lu Feng and I were college classmates. At that time, he liked me and pursued me in a shameless way. But I didn't like him, so I refused all the time. After graduating from college, I lost touch with him. Although I know he belongs to the Lu family, I don't want to get involved with him, so I didn't say it. I didn't mean to hide it from you. Ning Shui follows Yi Tian. After walking through many stones, she clenches her fist, cheers herself up and explains to Yi Tian. She is very worried that Yi Tian will misunderstand her because of Lu Feng's words. Don't worry, I understand you. Even if I knew such a thing, I wouldn't say it. Yi Tian waved his hand with a smile, and then said, when I hear such a guy, Schwer calls you, it makes me sick. We are not the same kind of people as his garbage. We call him so close, as if we are familiar with him, garbage. Yi Tian. Ning Shui hears Yi Tian's words, that originally some nervous heart stretches to open immediately, looking at Yi Tian, Lo Wei, between eyebrow eyes more bashful and joyful. She really did not expect that Yi Tian should be so concerned about how Lu Feng called her. Does this mean that Yi Tian attaches great importance to her? In other words, Yi Tian is a little jealous? It turns out that her efforts are not in vain. In Yi Tian's heart, she still has her own place. Look at the stone, I can't lose that rubbish to him. Yi Tian sees Ning Shui's expression, and understands that his words just now are indeed ambiguous, which makes him feel that he is jealous, so he quickly digs off the topic. He just really didn't think so much, and, listening to Lu Feng's address to Ning Shui, there was a kind of boredom in his heart. All this also made him understand one thing. In fact, after so many things, in his heart, he didn't have any feelings for Ning Shui, otherwise, he would never have. Well, we must win. Fortunately, rather than entangle the snow leaf day, he must say something, but along the leaf day's words, the way. Seeing this, Yi Tian was relieved, and immediately began to walk in the exhibition center. Bet on Jade, it's 10 bet and 9 lose. It's hard to win. A circle around down, Yi Tian heart immediately gently sigh more than, he this way, also saw a lot of stone. However, according to the Eye of Heaven, most of the original jades contain only some unshaped miscellaneous jades, or the lowest grade common sapphire. In particular, a piece of Big Mac jade with a price of 15 million yuan, which is one person high, has wiped out a large blue jade skylight. According to the Eye of Heaven, the blue jade is only 2 fingers thick. Further down, it is all white flocculent quartz, not even a bit of jade. If someone bought this kind of stone and took it to Jiu, he would lose even his pocket cloth. A knife hell words, really not just talk about, I'm afraid it is countless people with blood and tears, just come to the conclusion. Ha! But just as Tian was about to move his eyes away from the one-person tall Big Mac, the light from the corner of his eyes was passing over a piece of jade under the Big Mac, supporting it and not letting it fall. The original stone has no skylight, and its appearance is extremely ugly. On the black surface of the original stone, there are many deep and shallow gullies and pimples, as well as many hollow holes. It looks like an abandoned hornet's nest, which has a ferocious and rough feeling. But when Tian's eyes were shining through, he was surprised to find that under the ugly appearance of the original stone, inside, there was a ball of white, oily, even without a star and a half of impurities, just like someone hiding a piece of intact lanolin in the depth of the ugly original stone. Longy white jade. Even if Tian hadn't seen what the real longy white jade looked like, he could tell from his appearance that what was hidden in this ugly original stone was the most famous longy white jade in Yudu, which was also regarded as the king of all jade in Yudu. Boss, how can I sell this raw jade? Thinking of this, Tian immediately went to the Big Mac stone, looking at the stall owner not far away, and asked with a smile. 15 million, buy it now. But brother, since you dare to fight against the Lu family, I'll give you face. If you want to buy it, it's 14.5 million yuan. You can't do less. After hearing this, the stall owner looked at the position of Tian's station and immediately gave an offer. I'm not talking about this one. I'm talking about the big one and the small one under it. When Tian heard this, he shook his head with a bitter smile, and then kicked the small stone with his feet, and said with a smile, "This one." When the stall owner heard this, he immediately looked disappointed. Then he said, "This is cheap. It's 200 yuan. You can take it away. But I really don't recommend you to buy this stone, brother. Look, it's full of these pores. In our jargon, it's a honeycomb." It is said that there was jade in this kind of original stone, but the nature of jade came out with the honeycomb. Everyone thought it was waste. I put it here either to sell it or to hold the big one so that it won't collapse. If you're just playing, brother, it's okay for me to sell it to you. But now you're gambling with Lu Feng on jade. Isn't it a waste of money for you to buy it? Waste. Rather Snow hears this words, eyebrow immediately tiny wrinkly, in the heart is more up and down. She felt that the stall owner had deep prejudice against the Lu family, otherwise, he would not be given preferential treatment just because Tian gambled with Lu Feng on jade. What's more, the other side has no reason to push business out. If it wasn't for the performance of this stone, it would be as bad as he said. He would never have said that. Since it's gambling on jade, of course, we have to play something exciting and peaceful. If there's any fun, we have to play this kind of small and broad game to be interesting. Just didn't wait for her mouth to dissuade Tian, but Tian was already smiling at the stall owner first and said, "Man, are you kidding? Are you determined to buy this stone?" The stall owner stares at Tian and sees that he doesn't seem to be joking. Just, the tone of the other party's speech, how to listen, how to ask the tone of the absent-minded or lazy. "Sure." Tian nodded without thinking and said with a smile, "If you have seen such a top-quality jade, but don't buy it, it's a real lack of heart. Well, $200. Here you are. However, I had to use a crane to lift this big stone before I could take it out. However, there is no crane here now." Booth boss Tian completely don't listen to advise, wry smile after shaking his head, slowly way. The people who sell jade in Yudu are the ones who don't listen to advice and go their own way. In his opinion, Tian is obviously one of those people. "Crane, don't bother. Just find me something to support." Hearing the speech, Tian waved his hand to the stall owner with a smile. After a slight smile, he bent down and squatted down, followed closely, holding the one-person high stone in his hand. He gently lifted it up from the ground, followed closely, and took out the ugly stone with the other hand. I'm going to. This scene, completely the stall owner to see surprised, gaping at Tian, people completely stupid. You know, the weight of the original stone is very heavy, such a single person to the high of the original stone, absolutely have 2000 gene on, but it is such a big piece of original stone, unexpectedly you Tian a hand to support up, the strength is big, really no one. This guy can't add all the points to his strength, otherwise, how can he be so unconvinced? Immediately after that, the stall owner couldn't help muttering. Boss, where's the support? At this time, Yi Tian looked at the stall owner and said with a smile. Here, hold on with this. Booth boss smell speech, quickly took out a wooden block, handed Leaf Day. Yi Tian took the wooden block, firmly supported the one-person high stone, took out a bank card from his pocket, handed it to the stall owner, and said, swipe the card, I'll buy it. Yi Tian bought the stone. Yi Tian's words fall down, and the jade merchants and gamblers who are surrounded by Yi Tian immediately come to see what stone Yi Tian picked. His Stone King. Brother, you are so big, 15 million, it seems that it's more than the stipulated price? Glancing over, when people see Yi Tian standing with the stone, they instinctively think that Yi Tian chose the Big Mac stone. What's Stone King? Hearing this, the stall owner shook his head with a bitter smile and said, what he bought is the original stone of honeycomb skin under the mat. The original stone of honeycomb skin that jade nature all scatters along with honeycomb? Little brother, how can you choose indiscriminately? This kind of raw stone is nothing but rubbish. You can't choose it. Yes, if you don't know how to pick the original stone, tell us, we'll help you. The owner of the stall dropped a word, and there was a lot of noise around him. The jade merchants and gamblers looked at Yi Tian, and one by one urged him to stop. You know, honeycomb skin stone can be said to be the worst of all jade, and there is no one. No matter who gambles on jade, no one will choose this kind of raw jade, to be exact, no one will choose this kind of raw jade except those crazy people who want to be small and broad. And even if it is elected, those who are waiting for them will surely lose. Yi Tian now chooses such a stone to bet with Lu Feng. Isn't it obvious that he wants to lose? Lao Wang, did you cheat this little brother? Even those jade merchants and gamblers can't help but wonder if the stall owner is so obsessed with money that he deliberately spoils it and recommends such a piece of raw garbage to Yi Tian. Everyone, the conscience of heaven and earth, who wants to pit this little brother, who is the grandson? Ask him if I've tried to persuade him, and I only charged him 200 yuan for this stone. Have you ever seen such a liar? On hearing this, the stall owner was very anxious. He patted his chest and said in a loud voice. Little brother, this stone is really not worth buying, and it's not worth taking it out to gamble on jade. Around those people here, immediately determine, all this, is Yi Tian's own idea, immediately looking at him, again sincere incomparable advice. What are you talking about? So busy? Before gambling on jade, we didn't seem to say that we could ask others to help us choose the original stone at this time. Lu Feng also came over. When he saw the honeycomb skin stone that Yi Tian was holding, he was very pleased. Then he looked at the people around him and was not good at Tao. One word fell, and all the people around immediately became silent. There are many rules for gambling on jade. One of them is that if there is no clear agreement between the two sides, no one outside the court is allowed to give advice and help choose the original stone. Otherwise, it can be regarded as a violation of the gambling agreement and can be directly punished. These jade merchants and gamblers are not unaware of this rule, but they are too disgusted with the Lu family. In addition, Yi Tian chooses such a poor quality stone, so they can't help but ask him to make a new choice. Everyone is on the scene. If you have something to say, don't let me say it again. Seeing this, Lu Feng looked at these people with indifference. Immediately, he glanced at the honeycomb skin stone in Yi Tian's hand and said with disdain and sneer, however, you are really brave enough to choose such a piece of rubbish and gamble with me on jade. Your eyes are really strange. I ask you, is the money in your hand not enough to buy good stones? Why don't I lend you some money to play with me? You don't have to waste my time with this rubbish. This guy, can't he really lack of money and can't afford to buy good quality jade? As Lu Feng's words fell, the jade merchants and gamblers around him began to murmur. Boss Wang, no password, swipe the card. Remember to report the balance to the watchers in the door. Stop. Yi Tian has no expression and disdains to sneer. With a flick of his finger, a bank card flies to the stall owner. Tut tut, I'll have to raise my ears to hear whether it's 3 or 2 digits. Lu Feng disdained to look up and laugh. At this moment, he has determined that Yi Tian is a real poor man, otherwise, anyone who can have 3 melons and 2 dates in his hand will never choose this kind of rubbish. Kaka hiss hiss. At this time, the stall owner took Yi Tian's card and brushed it on the POS machine. With the sound of spitting, a series of numbers appeared on the screen of the POS machine networking. Hiss. After the stall owner inadvertently looks at the number on the display screen, his face changes greatly. He takes a breath of air and looks at Yi Tian in disbelief. Why, am I wrong? 4 digits on his card? Or 5 digits? Lu Feng saw the stall owner's appearance, and continued to ask with a smile and sarcasm. 4 digits? 5 digits? None of them. Feng Dashao, please listen to me and count for you. Cough 1 2, 3, 4, 5 9 10, 11. The stall owner and the Lu family didn't deal with each other. When they heard this, they saw the numbers displayed on the POS machine. Looking at Lu Feng, they gave a cold smile. Then they coughed hard and cleared their throat. Then they began to count 1 digit at a time. 11 figures. 10 million billion, 10 billion. This is not to say that Yi Tian is a 10 billion millionaire? With the voice of the stall owner's words, the room became quiet in an instant. Everyone's eyes were focused on Yi Tian, one by one, and his face was full of unbelievable trembling color. No matter who can imagine, this young man around them is a 10 billion millionaire at such an age. Not to mention, this is still the capital on the book, and does not include any stocks, real estate, and other assets. You know, even 100 billion level rich, the book, are not necessarily able to have such a large amount of cash flow and abundant. 10 billion millionaire? The guy who bought a piece of honeycomb skin and stone turned out to be a $10 billion millionaire? Not to mention these people, even Lu Feng, at this moment are silly, unbelievable. Looking at Yi Tian, his head is buzzing and trembling. Although the Lu family is an old family with a rich family background, he knows that there is not such a large amount of cash in his family's books. What's more, the accumulation of the Lu family's hundreds of years of heritage, together with assets such as jade mines, is only 10 billion. If Yi Tian's book is worth 10 billion, isn't it true that one person can hold up a family? 11 figures. Didn't you count in the last 3 decimal points? But just Lang, Lu Feng then looked at the stall owner, disdain way. He didn't believe that with Yi Tian's clothes and the original stone act of choosing 1 or 200 yuan, he would be a 10 billion millionaire with a book capital of 10 billion yuan. The only possibility is that the stall owner, together with Yi Tian on purpose, plays tricks on himself and counts the 3 decimal points behind. Although it's amazing to say that after losing 3, the book capital is as high as tens of millions, but the multi-millionaire really can't see the eyes of the Lu family. Decimal point? Ha ha ha, if I count in the decimal point, it will be 14 digits. When the stall owner heard Lu Feng's words, he sneered scornfully. Then he pushed the POS forward and said in a loud voice, if you don't believe it, you can see clearly with your eyes wide open. Individual, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million, 10 million, 1 billion, 10 billion. God, it's really 10 billion. You can't judge by appearance, you can't judge by appearance. Today, I finally understand what my ancestors said. Hiss, such a young 10 billion millionaire, this little brother, enough. It's so popular, but it's still so low-key. As soon as the POS machine turned around, those jade dealers and gamblers immediately saw that there was a long string of numbers on the display screen before the decimal point. After counting, they were surprised to find that the number really reached 11 digits, up to 10 billion. What's more amazing is that the number of 10 billion places is still 9. What does this mean? Even from the perspective of book funds, Yi Tian is only one step away from 100 billion millionaires. Lu Feng is also stunned, staring at the scene in front of him. Then, he looks at Yi Tian in disbelief. Even if he kills him, he can't imagine that Yi Tian's wealth is so amazing. And doesn't this mean that Yi Tian, who is really a man, can stand up to a family of hundreds of years? There is so much money on the card. In fact, let alone these people, even Yi Tian himself, seeing this number, his eyes can't help changing, and he looks at Ning Shuo in surprise. The bank card he gave us was the one for Shueji Cream and Haojiang Casino. He remembered that when he saw it last time, it was only 9 digits. Now, it has soared to 11 digits. Although there is a lot of credit for Haojiang Casino, Ning Shue's hard work must also be a great contribution. Haha, look at you people who have no knowledge. What's 10 billion? I haven't seen such a big man as 100 billion millionaire. Our Lu family doesn't need each other either. At this time, Lu Feng looked at the eyes of the people around him, changed his expression, pretended to disdain and sneered. Ding! But at this time, Yi Tian's mobile phone suddenly rang, and then the 11-digit fixed frame on the POS machine suddenly jumped. Finally, the 9-character of 11-digit changed to 0, and in front of it, there was one more 1. 12 figures. $100 billion I'll go, my little brother. He's so amazing. He's $100 billion millionaire at such an age. I remember very clearly just now that there are 99.6 billion in his book. Now, it has become 100 billion, that is to say, he has just recorded 400 billion. This sudden scene immediately made the scene boiling. All jade dealers and gamblers looked at the numbers on the POS machine, like fried porridge, and their mouths were full of words. Everyone's eyes were full of strong disbelief. A business, earn 400 million, even if it's gambling jade, don't earn so fast? How many people have worked hard for a lifetime, or even a few lifetimes, to get such a number? Congratulations, you've met $100 billion tycoon. Now there's another one. Yi Tian looks at the change of the number, picking the tip of the brow toward Lu Feng, and laughs playfully. According to his estimation, it's the end of the month again, and it should be Haojiang Casino that has put this month's dividend into his card ahead of time. However, all this makes Yi Tian feel a little sad. Not to mention the cultivation of naturalization, the amount of wealth is absolutely beyond his imagination. Hundreds of billions of assets, or cash on the book. When he was on campus, he was worried about the bankruptcy of his family. How could he think that one day, he could have such a big fortune? Lu Feng's face was so gloomy that it was about to drop into the water. There was a burning pain on his cheek, and there was an impulse to find a way to get in. He didn't expect that as soon as his voice fell, Yi Tian could have 400 million yuan in his account. He changed from a $10 billion rich to a $100 billion big man in his mouth and slapped him in the face. Hundreds of billions. Lu Feng clenched his teeth and moved his lips for a long time, but in the end, he didn't say that 100 billion is nothing, and a trillionaire is the real big man. In the end, he said contemptuously, what's so great about money? In the jade gambling field, you can't just have more money. Everything depends on your own eyes. No matter how much money you have, you can't win. Many can only be the same as the upstarts. They don't have the inside information to choose a rubbish that doesn't flow into the stream. After a word, the jade merchants and gamblers around them all look at Yi Tian in confusion. Some of them don't understand. Even if their eyesight is poor, they will choose a piece of raw garbage stone with a value of only 200. Who told you that hundreds of billions of millionaires must buy expensive ones? Don't you know that there's a saying in the world, only buy the right ones, not the expensive ones? At this time, Yi Tian raised his eyebrows and laughed, then said faintly, besides, have you ever heard of a word that you can't see gold inlaid jade? Oh, by the way, it's normal that you don't understand this sentence. After all, I'm a millionaire, but you're not. Is there a pair of wise eyes that is the biggest difference between us? The eye does not know gold and jade. Hearing this, Lu Feng's face became more gloomy. After a sneer, he stared at Yi Tian and said coldly, then you can hold your gold inlaid jade. I want to see what can be cut out of such a rotten honeycomb stone. However, if there's nothing in it, don't blame others for laughing away. After a word, Lu Feng turned around and went to the booth. He continued to inspect the site. Soon, he picked out a few stones. Although the Lu family's work is immoral, we have to admit that the people of the Lu family have a first-class vision. The performance of these stones is really good. Although there is no skylight, you can see that the jade wadding is full of oil, and the color is clear. There is a great chance of white jade in it. Seeing Lu Feng's choice, although people around him have a bad impression on him, they can't help nodding slightly. Lu Feng listened to this word, immediately looked at Yi Tian, as if to say, on your eyesight, and that piece of garbage, how to compare with me? Little brother, you're going to bet 2 million yuan. You've only spent 200 yuan. Choose a few more. At least you'll win more. Not only that, after seeing Lu Feng's choice, many people around him also advised Yi Tian. How many more? When Yi Tian heard this, he wanted to shake his head, but he could see the expression on Lu Feng's face. He suddenly moved in his heart, raised a smile at the corner of his mouth and said, since everyone has said that, I'll choose some more. Who after hearing this, they immediately felt relieved. What they were most worried about was that Yi Tian didn't listen to me, so he stared at this piece and didn't choose anymore. I'll go, little brother. What are you doing? How did you get to their house? Yes, little brother, you found that the original stones of the Lu family were fraudulent. How can you choose their original stones? These original stones have just been selected by Lu Feng. The rest have been selected. There can be no good things. You have to be careful. But the next second, what surprised everyone happened. Yi Tian walked towards Lu Punzi's stall. Looking at the posture, he obviously planned to choose some jade from this stall to gamble on jade. For a time, the voice of dissuasion repeatedly, everyone's scalp numbness, don't know what to say leaf day. This young man, though $100 billion rich man, can do something, but he wants to buy a 200 yuan honeycomb skin stone. Now he even goes to buy the jade of his opponent's home, and it's still under the condition that he personally exposes the other party's fraud and has been selected by the other party. All this really makes people not know what to say. What they fake is the skylight, not the stone itself. What's more, as the saying goes, it's hard for immortals to judge inch jade. It depends on their eyesight and luck to gamble on jade? God has given me a pair of wise eyes to discover the lost pearls. Moreover, my luck has always been very good. Otherwise, how can I become a $100 billion millionaire at a young age? Yi Tian hears this sound, raises eyebrow a smile, way. Gambling on jade, of course, is the happiest thing when you win the gambling. But if you choose the jade with the other party's things, especially in the case of the other party's choice, there is no doubt that you will be happier and more relaxed. The same, also can let the other party in the heart more uncomfortable. Yi Tian, who has the eye of the source sky and can shine through the original stone, naturally can't miss such an opportunity. A legacy? At the same time, after hearing this, Lu Feng sneered at Yi Tian and said coldly, you can choose the stones in this stall. As long as you can win the ones I picked out, all the money you choose for the stones will be given to you for nothing. He has full confidence in his eyesight. What he selected is the best one among the original stones, and may be the most valuable one. He does not believe that Yi Naivete can find anything better than his own bequest here. He determined that as long as Yi Tian dares to do so, he will definitely lose. Therefore, he must think of all ways to let Yi Tian buy the stone on Lu Pangzi's stall. Free? Are you sure? Yi Tian heard the sound, raised his eyebrows and laughed, playing with the taste. It's a double happiness to win with the opponent's things. If you win with the opponent's free things, isn't it a triple happiness? It's hard to get a word out of a man's mouth. Lu Feng nodded without thinking and said in a deep voice. He was born in the Lu family and grew up in the original stone pile. Although he can't say that his eyes are bright, they can definitely surpass most jade merchants and gamblers. Therefore, he didn't believe in Yi Tian's so-called bequest words at all. Okay, everyone has heard that. Let me be a witness. Next, I'll choose the original stone on the stall of the Lu family. No matter what good things are solved, the Lu family will give it away. The leaf day hears speech, eyebrow tip lightly a pick, turn a head toward around arch hand, light way. Okay, let's be your witness. The jade merchants and gamblers around them, seeing Yi Tian's attitude, knew that he had made up his mind, and they didn't say anything more. They all nodded with a bitter smile. Today, I'll take your Lu family's stone and win over you Lu family. Yi Tian sees this and looks at Lu Feng. With a faint smile, he immediately strides toward Lu Ponzi's stall. Immediately after that, his mana runs, opens the source sky's eye, shines through all directions, and his eyes skim one stone after another in the field. In just a few minutes, he chose the original stone he had chosen. According to the price, it was worth 2 million yuan. However, he basically selected some raw jade without skylight. The price was slightly lower, so he chose more than 10 pieces. What's more, to everyone's surprise, Tian even chose a stone that the Lu family used to cheat on the skylight. It's more than half a person's height. Even if the price of the skylight is removed, it's worth as much as 800,000. It's the most valuable stone he chose. What's more, Tian's choice of the original jades makes people feel that it's really hard to say. There are not only the worst honeycomb skin, but also the black sand skin. Of course, there are also the top-grade Liutsue skin. Many skin colors are mixed together, which makes people feel that they are completely selected by eye. This one is hanging. I can see that this little brother's gambling on jade really depends on his luck instead of his eyesight. It's really hard for me to understand that gambling is so heavy. What does this little brother do to earn such a big fortune? It's not a side door, is it? All around the people looking at this scene, one after another shook their heads and sighed, feeling that they had seen the result of the gambling. After all, not to mention anything else, just take the skin color of the jade. Compared with Lu Feng's, the skin color of the jade Tian chose is just like that of the regular army and the unofficial army. This huge gap makes it impossible for people to believe that Tian can win the competition. Now that you've chosen it, you're ready to start solving jade. Let's see the real chapter under the blade is for Lu Feng. At this moment, his face is full of satisfaction. He looks at Tian's pile of stones and gives a sneer. Then he looks at Lu Pingzi and says, "Has Su Sanwang come?" "I just called and said I'll be there soon." Lu Fat Man hears a sound, nodded hastily, "Wei. Su Sanwang?" When Tian heard this, he could not help but slightly raise his eyebrows and put on a playful smile at the corner of his mouth. He really didn't expect that Su Sanwang, who is famous enough in Yidu, even Lu Feng, who has eyes above the top, would ask him to come to solve the stone. Ha ha ha, I don't know who Feng Xiao is going to gamble with. At this time, along the back of the crowd, suddenly came the laughter of Su Sanwang, followed by, he went through the crowd, came out. "Boss Su." Seeing this, Lu Feng nodded slightly to Su Sanwang. But before he finished speaking, Su Sanwang's eyes fell on Tian. He immediately showed a smile on his face, strode over and said to Tian with a smile, "Brother Yi, I didn't expect to see you again so soon. You don't want to gamble on jade. Now, it's an eye-opener. Boss Su, do you know him?" Lu Feng heard this, some surprised to see Su Sanwang one eye, light way. "Brother Yi is my friend. Where does Su Sanwang know what happened here?" After hearing the speech, he nodded his head with a smile. Then he was a little surprised and said, "Feng Xiao, do you know Brother Yi?" "Of course, how can I not?" Lu Feng light smile, toward Tian looked, play flavor, after all, he is to bet with me jade people. "What?" Su Sanwang was stunned at the sound, and then looked toward Tian in disbelief. He received the news that someone wanted to bet jade with Lu Feng, the future successor of the Lu family, so he came in a hurry. But even if he killed him, he didn't expect that the person who wanted to bet jade with Lu Feng would be Tian. What he didn't expect was that on the train before, Tian said that when he came to the jade capital, he wanted to gamble on jade, but the first one was Lu Feng, the famous Lu family. "Yes, I just want to gamble with him on jade." Tian nods with a smile and looks at Su Sanwang calmly. "This." Su Sanwang was stunned for a long time. Then he reached out and gently pulled Tian. He said in a low voice, "Brother Yi, what's wrong with you?" He's a young master of the Lu family. He grew up in a pile of jade. How can you bet on jade with such a man? Although Su Sanwang knows that Tian's skill is very good, gambling on jade is not decided by his skill after all. Moreover, there is no doubt that the Lu family is definitely the leader of the jade capital, especially when the Jade Emperor is in trouble now. It is likely that the Lu family will be the heaven of the jade capital in the future. In this case, Tian and Lu Feng bet on jade. How to see, how is an unwise venture. But after the words came out, seeing the calm color on Tian's face, Su Sanwang knew that Tian's intention had been decided. He had no way to dissuade him. He only sighed and then said, "Brother Yi, what kind of jade did you choose? Let me have a look. These are my choices. The Leaf Day smell speech, stretch out a hand toward the side of that pile of jade original stone pointed under, smile to sing away. Hearing this, Su Sanwang immediately followed the direction of Yi Tian's fingers and looked at the jade. This. After a glance, Su Sanwang was completely stupid. He had never seen such a method of selecting raw jade. The quality of each piece was uneven. At first sight, it seemed to be selected by eye. Especially when he turned his head again and saw Lu Feng's excellent performance of the original stone, the color of his face was even stronger. What's more, an idea came out of his heart: this one, Yi Tian will surely lose. Brother Yi, these stones, can you change it, or can I help you choose it? Then, Su Sanwang whispered to Yi Tian. Boss Su, I asked you to help me solve the problem of jade, not to help me choose the original stones for my family. Besides, when I made an agreement with him to bet on jade, I didn't say that I could let others help me choose. You're from Yudu, too. You can't help but understand the rule of buy and leave. When Lu Feng heard Su Sanwang's words, he was surprised at Su Sanwang's attitude towards Yi Tian. At the same time, he had a frosty color on his face and a cold voice. Then he looked at Yi Tian and said, "Don't talk so much nonsense. Are you ready to solve jade? Brother Su, don't persuade me." That's it. Yi Tian shook his head at will, then looked at Su Sanwang, and said with a smile, "However, Brother Su, since you are here, can you help me solve the jade problem today? Let me see what you do." Yi Tian wants to ask Su Sanwang to help Jiu? When Lu Feng heard this, his brow immediately wrinkled and twisted into a knot. He immediately looked at Su Sanwang and said coldly, "Boss Su, you are the one I asked to help also. I advise you to see the situation clearly and think clearly. If you help the wrong person, you should be careful to smash your gold-lettered signboard of Sanwang. No one will ask you for help in the future. Be careful to smash your gold-lettered signboard, no one will ask you for help in the future." When Lu Feng's words fell, everyone around him immediately felt the strong threat in his words. But there is no doubt that Lu Feng's words are not only a threat, but also a certain truth. After all, Yi Tian's choice of these jade raw stones is really beyond words. All kinds of products are mixed together, so people don't feel that he seems to be able to win the gambling on jade. The reason why Su Sanwang is so popular in Yudu is that his skill in solving jade is really good. Another reason is that his discerning eye power and solving jade hand power haunt him. Jiu, big and small, has never collapsed. This wonderful aura. If he helped Yi Tian Jiu, but he lost the gamble, doesn't that mean that the aura that enveloped him will no longer exist? Until then, without this aura, how many people will pursue him like now? You know, there is no shortage of jade gamblers and skillful Jiu people in Yudu. Needless to say, if Su Sanwang helps Yi Tian Jade, that is, if he doesn't sell Lu Feng's face, he is bound to offend the Lu family. After the end of the gambling, Yi Tianda can walk away, and Su Sanwang will continue to make a living in Yudu. At that time, will Lu Summit make him better off? Not only the people around, but also Su Sanwang's eyes are changeable. What these people can think of is beyond his imagination. Brother Su, I hope you can help me solve jade. Of course, if you feel embarrassed, I won't force you. At this time, Yi Tian looked at Su Sanwang and said with a smile. Su Sanwang, think it over. Lu Feng hears the sound and looks deeply at Su Sanwang. I have a clear idea. Su Sanwang looks at Yi Tian and Lu Feng. After a little silence, he smiles and says, I help you, brother. Boom! Su Sanwang's words fell, and the surrounding area immediately became boiling. No matter who, did not expect, Su Sanwang will make this decision. You know, in terms of the quality of the original jade, Yi Tian's chance of winning this gamble is too slim. Su Sanwang chose him, perhaps taking care of his friend's feelings, but there is no doubt that there is a 90% probability that he will smash his gold-lettered signboard. From then on, he is afraid that the only thing left is wine prosperity. Thank you, Brother Su. Believe me, you will not regret this decision. Yi Tian, hearing the words, arched his hand to Su Sanwang and said with a smile. He also didn't expect that Su Sanwang would choose to help him solve jade. This move can be described as risking his life to help him. However, Su Sanwang's choice is absolutely wise. There will be an unexpected joy waiting for him. Su Sanwang, remember your choice today. Don't regret it later. At this moment, Lu Feng's whole face is as cold as frost. He stares at Su Sanwang, and then turns to look at Lu Pengzi and says, "Go, and call our own Master Jiu. Brother Yi, I'm going to spend my life with a gentleman this time." Su Sanwang looks at Lu Feng's appearance and shakes his head with a bitter smile. Then he looks at Yi Tian and says. Although he knew that his chances of winning this time were very low, he decided to choose the latter in the face of interests and loyalty. "Believe me, you won't regret it." Yi Tian looked at Su Sanwang, raised his eyebrows and said with a smile. Su Sanwang looks at Yi Tian in bewilderment. He feels that Yi Tian's self-confidence in his words is overwhelming. However, he really can't figure out how Yi Tian, with such a large number of miscellaneous army stones with mottled stone skins, can defeat the regular army stones selected by Lu Feng. Salad. Just as he was talking, the Jiu man on Lu Feng's side had already put on his goggles, started to operate the electric grinding wheel and began to jiu. As soon as the grinding wheel makes a slight stroke towards the shell, a cutting mark will appear immediately, followed by the flying debris. Up. It's going up. But just for a moment, there was a sound of air conditioning in the room. At first, the powder cut by the cutting machine was pure white, but soon it turned into light green. This kind of green is just the sign of jade in the shell of the original jade. Immediately after that, Master Xiaoyu turned off the cutting machine, grabbed the water ladle, splashed a ladle of water on the cut mark, and immediately a wine green appeared. Green jade. The quality is good. It can be regarded as medium quality. It can sell at least 800,000 yuan. This stone, worth 100,000 yuan, has increased 8 times. It's a huge increase. The Lu family is really the Lu family, not to mention their character, but their insight is really the best of Yudu. It's too difficult to win the Lu family in gambling on jade. After all, this is an old jade family that has been handed down for hundreds of years, and a person who grew up in the original stone pile. Although many jade merchants are not happy with Lu Feng's and Lu's deceptive methods, they can see that Lu Feng's gambling has gone up after the first cut. However, they still can't help but praise him, especially those who gamble on jade. Their eyes are red. This is a good thing that many jade gamblers dream of and want to happen to themselves. Haha, in this world, some things are really decided by their own ability. Lu Feng listened to the noise around him, raised his eyebrows and laughed, then turned his head and looked at Yi Tian, mocking, "Why don't you start? Why, are you afraid that even Su Sanwan's luck will not prosper your original stones? If you win 8 times, you will be so arrogant that you don't know who you are? In that case, I'll win 80 times to show you." When Yi Tian heard Lu Feng's words, he laughed indifferently. Then he hooked up a piece of black sand jade and said with a smile to Su Sanwang, "Brother Su, help me cut this one. You're the 10,000 yuan black sandstone. You want to turn it 80 times? Ha ha ha, if this thing can solve 800,000 jade. I'll eat the stone." When Lu Feng saw the stone picked out by Yi Tian, he immediately looked up and laughed. Black sandskin belongs to the kind of jade shell with poor performance. The probability of solving jade is very low, and it is even more difficult to turn it 80 times. He really didn't know where Yi Tian had the courage to say such words. Needless to say, Yi Tian bought the original stone from Lu Pengzi's stall, which is the kind that he once picked, felt that there was little possibility of jade, and chose to give up. Well, that's what you said. Don't break your promise then. Yi Tian hears the sound, raises eyebrow a smile, looking at Lu Feng, light way. At the same time, he winked at Su Sanwang, indicating that he could begin to solve jade. Although Su Sanwang was not optimistic about the original stone, he still clenched his teeth, lifted up the cutting machine, closed his eyes and cut it down. Creak creak. In a flash, a harsh voice sounded. Hearing the sound, the onlookers immediately held their breath and looked at the cutting place nervously. A knife heaven, or a knife hell, at this moment, we will see with this knife. Beat beat. As for Lu Feng, at this moment, he is praying silently in his heart, hoping that this cutting machine can go down and cut out a big whiteboard. I'll go, it's going up. It's going up. As soon as the cutting machine touched it, it turned green. Is this black sandstone really a relic? Is it a piece full of jade? The color of the jade powder is good. It looks like a top-grade sapphire. There was only one sound of cutting. Staring at the people at the cutting place, they immediately found that there was blue jade powder flying out along the cutting mark. This scene let the field thoroughly boiling, breathing almost stagnant, everyone's face are full of incredible shock color. As soon as the cutting machine went down, green jade powder appeared. What does this mean? It means that this black sandstone, which is not popular, is just like a watermelon. In its thin skin, it is full of flesh. However, it is not red flesh, but green jade flesh. This knife is obviously heaven.